So it's early, I'm about to go to the gym, but I wanted to really talk about this before I left. So a couple weeks ago, the New Yorker came out with an article about Hasan Minhaj. The article claimed a wide range of things, chief among them that Hasan had embellished stories at the expense of others, like a girl who he had asked to prom who rejected him, and he said, hey, it was about race, when apparently it was not. That's what the article claimed. It also said that, hey, he never really had an anthrax scare. And the story about brother Eric, an undercover FBI agent who spied on him and his family, was completely fabricated. This story made the rounds everywhere. It was difficult for me to report on because I'm actually a fan of Hasan Minhaj. I'm actually also a fan of Claire Malone. If you don't know Claire Malone was, prior to this article at least, right, an incredibly detailed, intelligent investigative reporter. She did amazing, important work on polarization in America, the shifting of demographics, how the world is changing that a lot of news outlets just did not cover or really invest into. So when she got laid off by Disney owns some news outlets. I was like, what the, oh, fucking that sucks. Maybe she's going to go to another place that actually appreciates her talents. Because again, Claire's work was important. And when I saw this article, I felt really kind of weird about it. And the thing that I'm always aware of is that, hey, I have personal biases, and my personal biases should not get in the way of me talking about facts or holding accountability to things that I once liked. For example, hey, Maniac is a brilliant, incredible show, and the guy who made it is a fucking creep. So I reported my take on Freestyle in the News. Hey, you can embellish stories in stand-up, but if you make your entire personality about how factual the story is and you trade your name on it, if it's not true, it's probably a fuck up. It feels disingenuous to do that, especially with the way you've branded yourself over time. And of course, everybody ran with the story. It was in major headlines. This morning, Minhaj released a response to all of those things. And there's a lot to unpack in this statement. It's a 20-minute statement. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just wanted to really quickly talk about it and highlight it. But Minhaj also brought receipts, which I do want to play for you. And the chief thing about these receipts is that it is in direct opposition to a lot of what the New Yorker said.
Told a story about how I was supposed to go to prom with a white girl named Bethany Reed. Her real name is not Bethany. I changed it to protect her anonymity. At the doorstep, her mom tells me they don't want her to go to prom with me because they'll be taking a lot of pictures and they don't want their family back home to see her with a brown boy. Bethany's mom did really say that. It was just a few days before prom.
Is the doorstep moment true? Like,
no,
did that happen?
No, it happened before. But the emotional truth remains the same. Her mom going, "Hey, sweetie, we take photos and we don't want people to see. We have family back home."
Did she sort of give that as the reason of like, my parents aren't comfortable with going to,
Yes.
Yeah.
And it just destroyed me.
Yeah. Sure. That's understandable.
The reporter said it's understandable. But none of what I explicitly said makes it in the article.
So that was a big one, right? One of the biggest criticisms that Minhaj got from that whole story was the fact that he embellished the story about this girl rejecting him from prom, and she got doxxed. Multiple people reported the story. Even I felt really fucking weird about the story. And even on the Leftist Mafia, and I talked to Matt Binder about it, I was like, hey, that story may actually be inaccurate. And on that same podcast, the Surfs, Lance, actually hit me up and said, hey, there may be a little bit more to the story than you're thinking. The receipts Minhaj has, and again, I'll link the 20-minute video down below, which I do think you should watch if you have the time, really do disprove a lot of the New Yorker's claims. Like, they're fairly damning.
This is what they wrote instead.
She told me that she turned down Minhaj, who was then a close friend in person days before the dance. Minhaj acknowledged that this was correct, but he said that the two of them had long carried different understandings of her rejection.
This whole paragraph makes it sound like I got friend-zoned by Bethany, and then I turned into an angry incel, and then faked racism to get back at her. And I think this sentence is the reason why people believe that. He said that the two of them had long carried different understandings of her rejection. This sentence is incredibly misleading and implies the exact opposite of what I meant. Let me explain.
The racism he spoke of in the special did happen. It just happened a couple days before, and he just compressed the story a bit. That is normal in stand-up. That is absolutely normal, and that is absolutely valid to talk about. There are multiple other comedians, John Mulaney included, who have spoken on their experiences, serious experiences like this. And they've talked about it in public during interviews. It is a completely valid story to bring up because of the precedent set by other comedians in this field. And what's worse is Claire Malone, and I fucking hate this because, again, Claire Malone was I really was a fan. Claire Malone summarized and fucking honestly omitted a lot of important shit with an agenda.
As early as, I believe fall 2014.
I have these if you want.
Yeah, and then we have email correspondence in 2017, which we can give you.
Okay.
Then I now shift to email correspondence, which she can give you.
I have it. I can send it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and happy to give you all these emails.
Sure.
Not only that, we confirmed the emails were sent to the reporter and their fact checker before the article came out. Therefore, they knew my rejection was due to race. I confirmed it on the record and provided corroborating evidence. And yet, they misled readers by excluding all of that and splicing two different quotes together to leave you thinking that I made up a racist incident.
These pieces can either be hit pieces or investigative pieces talking about the truth in public figures. And a lot of times we either believe one or the other. And a lot of people were giving credence to the latter for Claire Malone because she has a pedigree, because she's she's a smart writer, but this is sloppy. This is bad journalism. It's bad journalism. You misrepresented an interview to prove a personal point and create a hit piece. And by the way, that hit piece had consequences. There are other receipts Minhaj brings up that back up his other two stories. Now, granted, he did embellish parts of those stories as well, but pointing out what was real and what was fiction with his receipts there, it's valid. It is valid as any other stand-up point made.
Truth is, I did have altercations with undercover law enforcement growing up, and that experience formed the basis of this story. But let me make something clear. A letter with white powder was sent to my apartment in February of 2019. I opened it in the kitchen, powder fell on the table, and my daughter was just a few feet away. After 10 seconds of freaking out, I realized it was not anthrax and that someone was fucking with me because people had been fucking with me since January 1st, 2019 after this happened.
Well, Netflix under fire today after its decision to pull an episode of a comedy show that was critical of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
And if you don't follow stand-up or know what's been going on over the last 10 years about, the whole cancel culture thing, there's a larger debate and fight that's been going on in terms of the business between comedians who, they would work clubs and figure out how to hone the best material versus people who build shows and more theatrical experiences like a one-man show. Those are two diametrically opposed ideas in stand-up that have been kind of clashing over the last decade or so. And again, all of these receipts that clarify everything were given to Malone. She had emails to help her decipher all this. She had multiple different texts to help her decipher all this. There's audio of him offering all of these to her, and her going, yeah, I have all of this, and none of it was reported. All of it was omitted for this viewpoint. That's fucked. I know a lot of people got mad at me for the Jonah Hill story that I did because I should have reported a little bit more of the context there, and I felt really, really bad about that. There are certain parts of that story that I really do stand by, but hey, it is important to have the full context of things, and this is no different. And the worst thing is the New Yorker responded, and I'm gonna read this response. It's a pretty fucking bad response. Hasan Minhaj confirms in this video that he selectively presents information and embellishes to make a point. Exactly what we reported. That is not what you reported. That is not what you fucking reported. When you use semantics like a bunch of fucking morons, what are you writing for your fucking school newspaper for smarmy people without assholes? Our piece, which includes Minhaj's perspective at length, was carefully reported and fact-checked. It's based on interviews with more than 20 people, including a former Patriot Act and Daily Show staffers, member of Minhaj's security team, and people who have been the subject of his stand-up work, including the former FBI informant, Brother Eric, and the woman at the center of his prom rejection story. We stand by our story. Yeah, but there's fucking evidence. Like, he presents a lot of the evidence that you have. And most of the things that you are reporting on, you don't even quote the woman who you talk to. You summarize her perspective. And you summarize Minhaj's perspective incorrectly, by the way. You summarize it incorrectly. It's deliberately misleading. And there's evidence of that. And the worst thing is a lot of people are not going to read it. But here's a dirty trick. A lot of journalists know that post BuzzFeed world, most motherfuckers read the headline, maybe the summary points, and bail on an article. They would rather read tweets and reactions to things to form opinions than actually read what the fuck is going on. That's why you have a lot of misinformation. That's how all of this shit works. It's frustrating to read an article from somebody you really rooted for. Like, I was a fan. I know it's weird to be a fan of a reporter, but I was a fan of Claire Malone in a world that was incredibly polarized and built to mislead people on biases and market to them. And here Claire Malone is misleading people and marketing a narrative for her own benefit. Modern day journalism is rife with this shit. Character assassinations are like the primary way people try to win debates. People try to form demographics. It hurts journalism when this is an avid avenue. Somebody who has made their career on smart, data-driven journalism, which is fact-checked, which is seen as really prescient and important and helps on building out full stories and helping us understand the scope of some of the most consequential elections and political movements of our time. When people who do that are kind of pushed into this really bad corner where, hey, let's take down public figures, not truth to power, that's a completely different thing, but let's take down public figures for clicks. And the fact that so many points were actively ignored needs to be talked about and needs to be reported. We're in the middle of a world crisis and a war that's very difficult to even speak on. This week is going to be really heavy with freestyle in the news. And if I'm being honest, if your fact checked turns into a character assassination piece when the quotes don't match your summarizations, it's not a profile or a character assassination piece at all. It's a fucking lie. Anyway, that's my take. I wanted to talk a little bit about it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this video doesn't turn out longer than the Minaj one. I'm going to link Hasan's video below. Let me know what you think. New freestyle the news on Sunday. Talk soon.
That was a great video by Zed. I'm not just saying that because he gave me a shout out. So yeah, shout out for the props. But no, that was really good. I've got one coming out tomorrow on the Surf Times that breaks the entire situation down. And yeah, I think they did Hasan dirty, if I'm being completely honest. Anyways, are you all ready for a spooktacular intro with copyright clear music that won't get me demonetized, or I'm not monetized, but won't get me shut down on YouTube? Here comes some amazing spooky sounds that are copyright clear. Ooh, spoopy. Look at the dancing skeletons. The spoopy. I don't know. There's this blood. Pumpkins falling from the sky. Spoopy intro. Oh yeah. Yeah, you think you're spooked. You don't know spook. Well, what about the zombies? Oh, you got zombies. It's spoopy, alright. Oh no, the copyright clear music's running out. Well, no, it's not. It's the spoopy stream. Everything's happening. Spoopy. That was Halloween Orchestra, Creepy by Infraction, a part of No Copyright Music. If you want No Copyright Music by Infraction, here's a link, and you can use it at home or in your streams, and apparently you won't get copyright strikes. So I'm told. That remains to be seen. Hi friends, welcome to the Leftist Mafia pre-show, the most exciting ticket in town. You may notice I'm not wearing a costume. Oh wait, or am I? Mild-mannered Lance, or shit liberal. Yeah, that's right. I hate terrorism, and I want all the terrorists to be defeated, and we must unite against the forces of darkness to defeat the terrorism. I am anti bad people, and I am the only good people, and I will spread freedom and democracy throughout the world by dropping fucking bombs on every corner of it. That's what I'm about. What are you about? You know? Yeah, it's my spooky, scary, neoliberal costume. But I also feel smart. I do. I feel more clever now. I feel like I'm ready to talk about grounding axioms. You know, I got all my debate bro powers. I actually used to wear, if you didn't know this about me, I used to wear glasses through most of my life. Actually, I've had very, very bad vision a lot of my life, and I had to wear glasses and contacts. Oh, I don't miss contacts. Contacts, oof, especially if you want to go camping with your friends, or if you went to a music festival. I'm surprised I'm not blind, if I'm being totally honest. Just like grimy at 3 a.m. trying to like find the fluid and everything. Like time to poke my own eyeballs with like dirt encrusted and other substances, fingers, and then put it in there, and can't wait to peel that out in the morning and put it back into my eyeballs for hours because I need it to see. So there's all that thing. Yeah. Apparently there's going to be drama today, of which I have no idea anything about it. So if all of you are excited for a very intense drama stream, apparently that's in the cards. Insofar as apparently the Majority Report and Matt Binder have exchanged some unpleasantries, shall we say. Streamed 6 hours ago. I'm guessing the subtitles will be up. I just want to know what I'm walking into here. Apparently, because it's going to be addressed, and I like actually no idea. Where's the transcript? Show transcript. Pakman. Oh, that's the live stream that you're watching right now. Hey, 40 people, how you doing? Doesn't show me the time. Speaker argues lack of federal gun. Video discusses how Uber benefited problems, neoliberals, Uber's approach. Speaker, video unfair treatment of individuals who lost their jobs. Mass shooting, Newt Gingrich. Does anyone know when it happened or what it's about that could fill me in, or where I should go, or how far? Drama sounds better than the rest of my day. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It almost sounds like a relief these days. Like, I'm not going to reveal what this new video is coming out, but there's a video that's been in the works for over years, not by myself, but by another person you may know who makes videos that just have like unfathomable amounts of just damning evidence usually in them. And I've been privy to a lot of the process, and it's going to completely destroy anyone who's still associating with the content creator. And that video is actually coming closer to reality now. And it's one of those things where, like, when I was seeing some previews of it, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to watch this on stream, because it's gonna be nice just talking about alt-right, figures for a little bit, as a break, as a treat from the real news that is happening every day. So it'll be nice to learn about online shitty fucking racist communities and taking that as a way of not having to deal with the news that happens all the time. So it'll be that. Don't forget to hit the like. Yeah, hit the like button, everyone. Apparently, if you hit the like button on the stream, it gives a thumbs up. Why am I on Mind Explosions? Well, the reason being is that I'm trying to get this channel monetized, and apparently this is a not a cheat code, but just another way to get those 4,000 watch hours that you need. No, I just passed 1,000 through the last stream, so hopefully this stream we can bump it up, get those rookie numbers up. We got to get those numbers up, and then that's why it's here. Somewhere out there's a clip from Doomed where Dr. Gus says this is Pakman, and that's where it's from. It was pretty entertaining. Could you send me that clip or a link to it? Is that what we're referring to? Because I was told that apparently Matt Binder and David Pakman share or exchange some things, but I don't see anything in here. Maybe I'll look at David. The speaker.
About it. I mean, yeah, and I mean, to just summarize, our problem is I find it really annoying that Pakman keeps putting, like he was with Steve Schmidt or whatever, and putting all of these critiques, like Israel's an apartheid state, into the mouth of like some sort of imaginary campus activist that is too enthusiastic and doesn't know the world, when actually it's Amnesty International and Ilham Papi.
It's the United Nations.
And Rashid Khalidi. Like, interact with adults that are talking about this instead of just running around and saying, oh, if you say apartheid, you don't know what words mean.
It's Jewish Voice for Peace. It's If Not Now. I mean,
and I think he's been somewhat avoidant on the issue, but time's up on that.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that with us, Matt, because that is a story that...
Basically, it is what I think it is. Matt Binder made a comment about Michael Brooks fitting in better Majority Report than he did on Pakman show, and Pakman took it very personally. Ooh, wow, that's really heavy. That's not really topics I think any of us want to talk about. I'm going to avoid that one.
I didn't know that.
I did not know, and I think is notable and very, very uncool. So
I mean, people could just go back and watch the episode. I said it as like sort of like a humorous sort of thing to lighten the mood on a very sad day. It was very clear I didn't mean anything by it to Pakman. It was just like, Michael fit here. This is where he was, and it fit into me and Michael constantly joking about Pakman's show that when we were together at the Majority Report. So I mean, but and I even apologized because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings over it, and if he was hurt over it, then right. That was not my take. But then when he decided,
well, I mean, it seems like beef quashed as soon as it was stewed. Like the stew was fresh. There was some perhaps tasty vittles inside, but now it seems as if it's been squashed. Maybe it's a squash stew now. Squash stew is also delicious.
Decided to make it clear to me that he did not accept it. I mean, he didn't have to accept it, but takes that extra step to email me to let me know he did not accept it.
Yeah.
Then that became clear to me that I don't care for Pakman, and I don't care that I hurt his feelings.
Beef is fine. There's no light without heat, and let's just let it be that way, and we can keep it on the issues, which I think, Binder, you're
Absolutely.
right about. Like he just very clearly is more of a centrist now. You're going on being lachrymose with Steve Schmidt instead of talking to adults. Like, have Barnaby Rain on. You want to talk about anti-Semitism? Give your audience something as opposed to impoverishing them with this sort of thing. It's guru-like, honestly. It's like the inability to deal, and Brian Butler's...
I feel like the beef is squashed. All right, so like I said, we evolved from the beef stew to the squash stew, but now I feel as if the beef stew is making a comeback, and there's new secret herbs and spices being added to the entire concoction that is now just going to derail the entire metaphor as well as this content in general.
Same thing. Sorry to get off on a tangent while we're trying to do plugs, but Brian Butler writing this piece, Biden doesn't support genocide.
I'm just hungry.
Expecting some sort of definition of genocide or some contention with experts who are calling it genocide. And no, it's just Israel. Biden doesn't support genocide because Israel isn't doing a genocide. You accelerationists. People need to get fucking serious. Hey, Brandon.
Brandon, I want to say no.
I feel like Sam's gonna come back from the day off. It's gonna be that meme, the community meme, where Donald Glover's bringing the pizza back, and then everything's on fire, and the troll's on fire, and the whole room's on fire, and people are chasing each other and falling over each other. I feel it's gonna be one of those moments. No, we don't have cocaine, not yet.
Oh, thank you for having me. I want to say I'm instinctually on Matt Binder and Matt Lecht's side of this argument, even though I only caught the last little bit.
I mean, well, I don't understand how we're quibbling with genocide at this point. The only reason that we are not in the place of genocide right at this very moment is because Biden is half-heartedly trying to stall the situation of a ground invasion, but Netanyahu and the Israeli government put their tanks over the border in northern Gaza and be like, hey, it's coming, don't you worry. And it's now 7,000 dead, almost 3,000 children dead, and we're talking in the span of...
And I can't fathom how ghoulish you have to be to start talking about how you think those numbers are exaggerated. To start equating things like, well, the Palestinian Health Authority and their official numbers should be called into context. And at this time, I mean, could they possibly be in collaboration with Hamas? And if that is the case, I mean, are we getting our numbers directly from a terrorist organization? And I mean, that's just how we're going to report on it.
Less than, 3 weeks. So at this rate, what are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking about... The Gaza Ministry of Health is just a front for Hamas, a terrorist organization. We can't take anything coming out of Hamas, including the so-called Ministry of Health, at face value.
The president yesterday, John, said he has no confidence in the death toll numbers presented by the Palestinians in Gaza. What's he basing that on? How did he reach this conclusion?
Well, we all know that the Gazan Ministry of Health is just a front for Hamas. It's run by Hamas, a terrorist organization. I've said it myself up here. We can't take anything coming out of Hamas, including the so-called Ministry of Health, at face value.
The president yesterday, John, said he has no comment.
What can you even say at this point?
Obviously, you have all that evidence that a genocide is happening, but have you seen Israel tweeting that Voldemort would be on their side?
Yeah, I did see that.
And Jigsaw. I mean, it came from
Oh yeah, it was a whole bunch of AI art, and it was Voldemort, Jigsaw. I think there may have been an Avengers one in there as well. They're all crying. And then it's all supposed to be like the worst villains of all. Are you supposed to feel bad for Jigsaw? That's what I was like looking there at that. I was like, where are you going with these ads? Apparently they didn't even go through the trouble of making the AI. Those AI images have been taken from other people who put in the prompts, so they didn't even go that far. They were just taking other people's AI images. And those images in question, it's like, yeah, here's the character that like kidnaps people and tortures them horrifyingly over and over, and he's crying because he's not as evil as Hamas, because that's the ultimate evil. Like, what are you trying to do? You're making this whole thing, like, are people supposed to start thinking of terrorist organizations as fairy tales? Because they are very real, as the very reality of what acts they commit. Like, what is this?
I think, but people are saying like it is ethnic cleansing, not genocide. Go take it up with the genocide expert in Jewish currents. People just feel the need to just say things, and
YouTube doesn't allow emotes, no, but you can always go to the surfs.tv. I mean, the surfs.tv is live. It's the one you'll see on screen, and all the emotes are still there, and they're animated and they dance around.
Also, like this sort of thing, this sort of abstract argument over terminology. It's more easy to say this or that than say like, oh yeah, actually I think killing 7,000 people, 3,000 kids, that's good. Whether you call it genocide, whether you want to call it ethnic cleansing, like
well, Netanyahu's saying we're the children of light and they're the children of darkness.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the most fascist stuff that we could possibly hear. Anyway.
No.
What's happening on your guys' programs? I'm sure I have a sense of what you probably were talking about. Binder, you go first, and then Brandon, then we'll head into the fun half.
Sure. So
this isn't the
this
fun
week,
half.
obviously,
Yeah,
another week of talking about what's happening in Gaza, going through more.
So that was the extent of it. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it doesn't even really need to be reopened. I'm assuming it will be. I've already seen what the Humanist Report's thumbnail is. Mike really stoking the old drama here. Binder's beef, Israel's propaganda fail, and more. I am excited for Binder's beef. It sounds tasty. Let's figure out how tasty it could be.
Or disinformation spreading online. Went through how you're seeing people lose their jobs
I appreciate
for speaking
you.
out against.
Thank you for helping.
What's going on in Gaza, and I show two examples which are just so clearly nothing out of the ordinary, over the top. In one example, I'll give her, an editor-in-chief of a research magazine, basically shared an Onion post talking about how the Onion is on point here, and that made him lose his job. The most you can't even get less controversial than that. I mean, and how, on the opposite side, you see people literally dehumanizing Palestinians, calling them animals, saying they all deserve to pay for Hamas. And there's no loss of anyone's livelihood or anything there. Like, there's no symmetry even on that. Like, it's just unbelievable, like how we're seeing this. So, all that and more, youtube.com/Matt Binder. I'm assuming there'll be a Scam Economy episode very soon on the SBF trial, but I've honestly have a hard.
I was like, no one's even following that anymore. I hope SBF is fucked. I mean, that's probably where that is headed. I would assume. I have not been following that news. There's just been way too much other stuff.
I've had a hard time focusing on anything but all of this right now.
I totally understand. I'm like, I have to will myself to give a shit about the speaker fight in the House.
Right. Right.
Brandon, what's happening on the discourse?
Well, if I can assemble my team, we will be getting together to talk about the Israel-Palestine. Well, you can't call it genocide. Apparently now ethnic cleansing is okay to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we will also be talking about the SBF trial. I'll make them talk about the SBF trial because I have been following that as well. Like I said last week, I've been using that as sort of a palate cleanser from all of the terrible opinions about Israel genociding Palestinians online, but it's its own atrocity, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, the number is 646-257-3920.
Just checking CoffeeZilla's got a video on it. He's still doing Logan Paul versus Dylan Dennis. Nothing on SBF. I thought he would be all over SBF. It seems like that's CoffeeZilla's shit, you know. This isn't a Ponzi scheme. Interview that was 3 weeks ago in 60 Minutes. SBF thrown back in jail because of witness intimidation. Yeah, I saw that as well. But yeah, I mean, it is obviously less important. I mean, it would be nice to see some of these assholes actually take some accountability for all the fucked up shit that they're doing, especially in that, field. But that is what it is. Has there been any updates on Maine? That's also what I'm trying to see right now to check out. Has that piece of shit been caught? Doesn't look like it. Still as of now. Oh, Maine Congressman Jared Goldman changes his stance on weapons. Interesting.
Sometimes things happen that bring your worst nightmares to life. Yesterday, this is what happened in Lewiston. At a time like this, a leader is forced to grapple with things that are far greater than his or herself. Humility is called for as accountability is sought by the victims of a tragedy such as this one. Out of fear of this dangerous world that we live in my determination to protect my own daughter and wife in our home and in our community, because of a false confidence that our community was above this and that we could be in full control, among many other misjudgments, I have opposed efforts to ban deadly weapons of war like the assault rifle used to carry out this crime. The time has now come for me to take responsibility for this failure, which is why I now call on the United States Congress to ban assault rifles like the one used by the sick perpetrator of this mass killing in my hometown of Lewiston, Maine. For the good of my community, I will work with any colleague to get this done in the time that I have left in Congress. To the people of Lewiston, my constituents throughout the 2nd District, to the families who lost loved ones, and to those who have been harmed, I ask for forgiveness and support as I seek to put an end to these terrible shootings. In the days to come, I will give everything I have to support this community's recovery. Thank you.
Wow. That is not what I was expecting, to say the least. That's pretty intense. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. I can't speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor. Today is a dark day for the state of Maine. As the mayor said, our hearts are heavy with grief. This heinous attack, which has robbed the lives of at least 18 Mainers and injured so many more, is the worst mass shooting that the state of Maine has ever experienced and could ever imagine. Today, I looked out my window in Washington and I saw that the flags had been lowered. And I realized that it had been done to honor the victims of this horrific attack. I'm grateful for the leadership of Lewiston Police Chief St. Pierre and for the bravery of the hundreds of state, local, and federal.
Just like Ethan, he should take time off. Is Ethan taking time off? I thought they were just putting a pause on the leftovers, but like Ethan's going to keep doing his own content, or am I wrong with that assessment?
Federal law enforcement officers who are leading the search for the killer. I'm also very grateful for all of the hospital employees who came back to work to take care of the victims, and for our first responders whose bravery was so evident.
No, it's
Last night, the president called me. He stepped out at the state dinner with the Australian Prime Minister to offer any help.
Am I live on Twitch? No, I'm live on the channel you are currently watching it on, Mind Explosions. But it's also going to be live, I believe, on Matt Binder's Twitch account, as well as the Humanist, not the Humanist Report. The Humanist Report's Twitch account. I think both of those are going live on Twitch. If you want to watch it on the Twitch, I don't think anyone is broadcasting on Rumble. If you want to watch it on DLive, I don't know who's broadcasting there. Most likely someone silly, you know. But yeah.
That the federal government could provide the city of Lewiston, Androscoggin County, and the state of Maine.
Just so y'all know, everyone is backstage. Matt Binder just joined. I believe they're about to begin. There's some laughing. We have a guest star today. Ariana Jasmine is going to be on the stream as well. We are still missing Rebecca, but Rebecca could be coming from work, so I'm not exactly sure what time she will be arriving. But Binder is just running off. It's just an empty chair right now, but he's probably grabbing maybe a new mic or something.
I also, at midnight, talked to Governor Mills, who has been a pillar of strength for our state. Tom Perez, who is the special advisor to the president throughout the night, texted me back and forth what you need. And I would tell him based on conversations that I had as he coordinated the federal response. This morning, Secretary of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, called and offered help from his department. The Attorney General also called, along with Maine's own U.S. Attorney, to offer their help. Right before I came into this building, I had a call from the Deputy Director of the FBI, who told me that there are 80 FBI agents on site participating in the search for the killer. 80. That doesn't include other people from the Marshal's Office, from the ATF, the DEA, and the Department of Homeland Security, and the Coast Guard. This has been a concerted effort at the state, local, and federal level, and everyone is determined to bring the killer to justice. To the families of those who have been injured or killed, I know that no words can fully ease the shock, the pain, and the justifiable anger that you are feeling. My hope is that you will feel the solace and strength in knowing that you are in the hearts of the people of Maine and of people throughout our...
Oh, it started, everybody. We got our cocainum.
Пошли. Все вместе. Какие ваши доказательства?
They want you to comply.
Пошли. Все вместе. Какие ваши доказательства? Кокаином.
Cancel culture. It's about cancel culture.
Cocaine.
This is systematic bullying that's happening.
Moralist.
Up yours.
And they believe that they can then shut us up.
Up around and find out. Up yours. Woke moralist.
They seem animalistic is what I mean.
No, they're worse than animals.
The woke mob, they ruin everything.
They stop Ben Shapiro from going to events and speaking. They stop Ann Coulter from doing it.
I will never surrender even a single inch of ground to a pitchfork mob
to the mob. Ever. No matter what.
Do you see the final expression of cancel culture in terrorist groups like
Up yours.
We'll see who cancels who.
Oh, someone's got it playing in the background.
Why am I hearing that in the background?
Who has that in the background? Yeah.
Hey, it's a bop. Play it as much as you want.
Yeah. How's it going, everyone?
It's going good. Let's introduce our guest, and then I have something. Yeah, I mentioned to you guys earlier, but let's introduce our guest first.
Yeah.
Who are we hearing?
I'm hearing echo.
Is someone not using headphones?
I don't have headphones. I'm sorry. That the echo is me.
It was fine before though. That's weird.
Yeah. I didn't hear any echo earlier.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, and Rebecca will be here. She was just here, but she'll be here this week.
All right. So while she fixes the headphone issue, we'll introduce her. Let me do my statement first. I mentioned to the guys earlier that I had to touch on something at the start of the episode. I've vaguely talked about this on this show prior, but earlier today on the Majority Report, Matt Leck was talking about his show Left Reckoning.
Wait, should we introduce Ariana, because this might take a while, I feel like.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Let's introduce Ariana.
I just want to give her the chance to introduce herself. Ariana, go ahead.
Yes. Who are you, Ariana?
Yeah, for sure. Don't worry. My intro will be very, very quick. Sorry about the mic stuff. Hello, my name is Ariana Jasmine. Oh my God.
Oh, you're muted, Ariana.
Oh, maybe you're hearing yourself.
Oh.
I'm still getting like a echo. I'm so sorry. I'm trying. Let me.
We don't hear an echo on our end.
We don't hear it. It's just you then.
So maybe you're playing.
I feel like I'm
maybe
hearing myself, yeah.
You know what? I bet it's playing on your computer somewhere. I bet the stream is playing on your computer.
Oh, in a tab, like yeah,
Oh.
like you probably have a browser tab that's got the stream on it, and that's because that happens to me too all the time.
So while she deals with that, back to my statement. So all right. Earlier today, Matt Leck was talking about a recent episode of his show Left Reckoning and how they basically covered David Pakman's coverage of what's going on in Gaza with Israel and the Palestinians. And during that conversation, Michael Brooks was brought up because of his take on it. Obviously, he's no longer with us, so we don't know what his take on this specific situation is, but based on a large library of his takes on Israel and Palestine, we know. And so I brought up the situation between me and Pakman from 3 years ago that I've, like I said, vaguely mentioned on this show, about how we had an interaction via email shortly after Michael's death, because I, during the memorial episode, mentioned Pakman in a humorous way, not meant to, attack him or hurt his feelings, but it bothered him. And so there was what I thought was a beef for 3 years. I mentioned this whole thing on the show earlier. Pakman found out about the episode, reached out to me privately, and we squashed the beef. It seems like it's very plausible that, based on how we both wrote our back and forth emails, we could have had a misunderstanding. So I'd much rather focus on, Pakman's coverage when I'm of issues, when there is some sort of back and forth with me and Pakman. So in terms of any personal beef with Pakman and I, perceived or otherwise, I would like to say it is now squashed. So anyone who's going after Pakman after my explanation earlier on the Majority Report, which apparently, according to Pakman, happened, you no longer have to do that. Focus on the issues, because anything I say about Pakman going forward will be about that. And I let him know that you guys wanted him on the show, and I was totally for it. But I had been assuming this whole time that he hated me because of this beef. So that apparently is no longer the case. Pakman, we could invite Pakman on the show and talk about the issues. So that's that. I will also state that I misstated how the back and forth emails went. Pakman had said something on his show, and I emailed him. He said something on his show about what I said about Michael and him on the Majority Report, and so I emailed him. I initially said he emailed me first. That is not accurate. I emailed him after he said something about me on the show. That's that. That's all. Case
that was
closed.
anticlimactic. I was expecting something a little bit more entertaining.
I mean, listen, because I don't want. First of all, like, I don't like that story. I brought it up specifically because when talking about Pakman and then talking about Michael on Israel and Palestine, the central part of that disagreement, if you want to call it, between me and Pakman was me saying, that we found Michael from Pakman's show, but based on who Michael is and where he stood politically, it was clear from the get-go that Michael was a better fit on the Majority Report than Pakman's show. And I just brought that up in that context of talking about both's opinion on Israel and Palestine to state that, I mean, I don't see how someone could have a problem with that statement when now more than ever before you can see how it's just factually accurate. Like, if Michael was working for David Pakman's show today, he would. I don't see a scenario where he continued to work for David Pakman's show, based on those takes that Pakman currently has on what's going on. So that's why it was brought up. It wasn't meant to. I wasn't looking to cause drama. I'm not that type of person, regardless of the jokes I make about being that type of person who's all about the money and doing super chats. I'm actually not.
Your jokes.
It's a character. You're an Alex Jones type.
I'm literally the reverse.
Okay.
I make less than all of you guys doing the YouTube stuff, so it's very clear I'm bad at it. Okay. I'm not a clickbait guy. I'm not good at it. I'm not out for drama for clicks. So, I mean...
well, I already clickbaited you for this, so...
Yeah, that's a hell of a thumbnail. Well done.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I actually would not do that. Like, that's something I wouldn't do.
It's objectively funny. Listen, I did not expect our first beef that would be crushed would be from Matt. I feel like you would have instigated more than stopped.
No,
but I mean, this is kind of a beautiful first in the podcast history.
Listen, I would love to have a beef with Pakman over. I'd much rather, let's put it this way, have a beef with Pakman over his takes than. All
right, let's start one right now then.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, yeah, I'd much rather do that. I mean, I would love to have him on the show so we could talk about it with him, which seems more possible now than I thought it was before, honestly.
Well, let's let Ariana introduce herself because I'm super excited to have her. Hopefully you can hear us and everything is copacetic.
Yeah, everything is fine. I'm sorry. I feel like a
Nice.
boomer because the audio was so, it's just, okay, sorry about
You're
that.
in good company then because we're all boomers here.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That makes me feel so much better. So I was like, why is this not working? Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana Jasmine. First of all, I just want to say I look up to every single one of you in your own ways. I was telling Mike before I came on, I literally stream Mike's videos every single day on Twitch. So it's such an honor to be invited here. Yeah, of course. And like, obviously, all of you as well. I look up to you guys. So you guys are great. Thank you for having me. My name is Ariana Jasmine. I am a progressive. I started off as a progressive content creator, but I've kind of like shifted towards the socialist side now. I'm more of an active member of DSA and whatnot. I create leftist political content on almost every single platform. I'm bigger on TikTok and Instagram, but I also Twitch stream every single day, Monday through Friday. And I also use YouTube, but I haven't figured out the YouTube algorithm, so I'm still working on that. But everything else I do, I post daily about all things leftist politics. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming here. And speaking of algorithm, everybody go subscribe to Ariana on YouTube.
Thank you.
We'll give you the algorithm boost, the leftist mafia boost, hopefully.
I would appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to bring on Ariana because Ariana.
Oh wait, hold
like
on one
all of
second,
us-
Ariana. I think your audio is coming from your headphones and not your mic. You might want to just switch that.
I was gonna say she has some also like same reactions to the whole conflict. I shouldn't even call it a conflict. You know, Israel's war into Gaza, and I think it's important to bring on more people. I think it's therapeutic to talk about this. She is somebody who's from the Middle East, so it's really important to get that perspective. And yeah, just really happy that you could join us, Ariana.
You're on mute.
Now you're muted.
I'll get this
There you go.
eventually.
Oh, there you go. It sounds better now.
I will get this eventually. Yeah, thank you so much. I am from the Middle East, so I am Iranian American. I was born in America, but when I was in 8th grade, I lived in Iran for a year. So I was very active with the Free Iran movement that started last year and the Women Life Freedom stuff. So yeah, I do kind of bring a unique perspective towards Middle Eastern politics, but I do want to just be clear, I am not Palestinian, I'm Iranian American, but still like under the Middle Eastern umbrella, of course.
What was it like there? I'm so curious.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was the
really?
worst year of my life.
Oh, no.
It was so bad. I mean, it's crazy because I was born and raised in America. Actually, I guess this all ties in together. So my parents are Muslim. My mom is more practicing, my dad isn't, but she's not even like super practicing either. But they put me in a like kindergarten private school, and the private school was a mosque. It was like a mosque that would be a K-6 school. And so 2 weeks after they put me into this mosque school, 9/11 happened, and they pulled me out immediately, and they never spoke of Islam again. So they wanted me to grow up knowing what Islam was, but I was never able to because they were just so scared. And so when I lived in Iran for that year, I had no idea what Islam was. I didn't really know how it operated. And you take like a child that grew up in America and has like, compared to Iran, has a lot of like freedoms where like I can brush my hair in public, or, you know, I can wear what I want. But in Iran, it's so dictatorshipy, circumferenced around religious, you know, theocracy, that it was just so bad. It was so bad. Like I didn't know what was going on half the time. I definitely got arrested by the morality police. My best friend and I did. And it was just a very traumatizing experience. After a year, I told my dad, I was like, you need to bring me home, because towards the end of that year, they had to put me on antidepressants, like antipsychotic. Like I was on a bunch of medication because I just couldn't handle it. And so my dad ended up moving me back here, and I haven't been back since. So it was a bad year. Yeah, it was a bad year.
How old were you when you were arrested?
I was 13.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they arrested my best friend and I because our hijab wasn't on properly.
Bad hijab.
Oh my God.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
To their standards. So it was we were both arrested. They let us go when they found out I was American and she was Canadian. So once they found out that we were foreign, they like let us go, and they were like, fuck off, like, excuse my language. They were like, go, just leave. Because I don't think they wanted, like, there's this added pressure when you arrest foreign Iran, like, you know, Iranian Americans or Iranian Canadians. But yeah, they let us go. So I guess I did have a little bit of privilege when it came to that. But I was definitely arrested by them. So
yeah, it's so interesting because anyone who I've talked to from Iran, they've all given me this impression that the population itself is very much more secular, not necessarily secular, but they're not in lockstep with the regime itself. Like they're much more progressive in a sense. And it
looks beautiful too.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And one thing that's so interesting about Iran is we always hear this, oh, Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. Actually, Iran was too, until the United States government decided to overthrow their democratic government. So, yeah, very interesting. So I'm really happy to have your perspective because I think it's important and it's very interesting.
I appreciate it. You know, sometimes I do think about like, what would the Middle East look like today if America never existed? I hate to say it. I know it's a really bad thing to think, but sometimes I do. Like sometimes when I can't go to sleep, I think to myself, like, I wonder what the Middle East would look like right now if, you know, I don't know, America didn't exist in the way that it does today. And that
Latin
doesn't
America
just,
too.
yeah, right. It doesn't just go for the Middle East.
South
too,
and Central
so.
America.
Yeah, it is. Like
and a lot of countries in Africa as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
we
the
have
world.
fucked the
Yeah.
world.
The way the whole world
And we're
operates.
still going, baby. Still doing it. It's just, yeah, it's very frustrating. This has been like, I think, I mean, these last couple of weeks have been just horrible. And then this week in particular just gets worse. There was the mass shooting last night in Maine. And then there's the press conference that Biden held where he dismissed the death toll from the Gaza Ministry of Health. That sent me into this rage that I cannot explain, because it's like, with his full chest on national television, he's straight up just like, he's saying the thing. Like, this is how genocides happen. They get dismissed and denied.
Just
and
deny
then
reality.
Deny reality. And on top of that, you see today, this attempt by Marjorie Greene to censure Rashida Tlaib. And it's not just the fascists who are coming after her. You have liberals like Joy Behar attacking her, Democrats attacking her. It just feels like I'm losing my mind. And I know it's all the same for you. So, yeah, been bad.
I was gonna say, is there a German word for being like extremely angry and sad at the same time, but like into a fusion of like a new emotion? Sometimes that's kind of what it feels like. I don't always have a word for it. Sorry, Ariana, you go.
No, that's fine. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I had something to say, but I forgot. No, okay, I remember. I will say the only thing that does give me hope, which Mike, I think you did highlight really well in one of the videos that you just posted, is that back when the Afghanistan war, when we were like pitching the Afghanistan war and whatnot, only Barbara Lee was the one who stood against it publicly. And even she was kind of on the fence. She was like, I don't know if I want to go against it or not. And she did. And she was like the one and only outlier. But now we do have a couple more politicians. It's still not great, but it's better than what it was 20 years
polls.
ago.
I know we were talking about two ones last week that showed really a lot of favorability for like a changing of the tide, so to speak. One just came out in Canada that shows that the majority of Canadians do not support militarily helping Israel right now in their current campaign. And I was like, that's
Hi guys,
that's
good evening.
Hey Rebecca.
Hi Ariana.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Sorry y'all, go ahead.
No, that was it. Me just saying, like, it's actually kind of good news to see these polls coming out where it seems like it's almost like we're getting this onslaught of mainstream media news, and a lot of people like posturing right now. I was one of the ones who wasn't fooled after all of that yellow cake uranium and the war in Iraq. I was one of the smart ones, you see. But this is definitely, we need to destroy terrorism right now. We have the face of evil. It's the children of light versus the children of darkness. We have to get in there and we have to destroy terrorism. They're buying into all the exact same talking points kind of thing all over again, but the general public, it really feels, is not completely being brainwashed by this, or at least like the TikTokers ain't, like a lot of the kids are putting out a lot of TikToks.
I mean, that's why. It's because media is less centralized now. It's not just about whatever the evening news is saying. It's really about what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Twitter. People see the images. People see what is going on. Stuff that's not being shown, in mass media generally. And even, to be fair, even mass media actually, as I've covered segments from CNN, MSNBC. Piers Morgan has a lot of guests on who are discussing what's actually going on in Gaza and the Israeli apartheid. So there is definitely just more awareness, because there is, I think, just a willingness to actually discuss reality.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it, like
I
you
actually
said.
feel like this is the first time that the pro-Israel propaganda is not effective. Like, I think it's failed miserably, and you can kind of see that desperation. Like, you see them fucking, like, the official Israel account posting like Voldemort memes and shit. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
That account is off the fucking hook. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous account.
And then what Matt posted about that was insane. Can you tell him about that, Matt?
Yes, sure. So there is this conspiracy theory called Pallywood. And it's basically a claim. It's not new. It goes back to the early 2000s. I think the year 2000, there was a film called Pallywood that tried to claim this. And that's where it all started. But basically, the Pallywood conspiracy theory is that people in Palestine, in Gaza, the Palestinians, they basically fake scenarios. They set up scenery. It's basically like crisis actors, like the Alex Jones, Sandy Hook crisis actor thing, but for Palestinian people. And this whenever something happens, there's video or photos that go viral of something happening to Palestinians. The claim is that it's not true. These are actors, or that photo was set up that way, and it was it's not real. So there's always going to be conspiracy theorists or whatever, and I will say the Pallywood thing is certainly growing right now, and I'm seeing some larger accounts share that type of stuff. But I noticed that just today, one interesting account was sharing a Pallywood conspiracy, and that was the literal official @Israel account. You want to bring this up on the? I'm not good at doing the screen share, so if one of you guys want to pull it up, here it is in the private chat. 1 second. Here we go. So,
I'll do it.
So yeah, pull that up first. Okay, so pull up. I've seen this going around. I don't think the @Israel account is the originator of this particular conspiracy theory about this guy, but they shared it. This is the official.
Oh, I seen that.
This is the official Israel account. This is the official government account for the country of Israel. You click the first image. So the official @Israel account says, fake news alert, the devil works hard, but Gaza's film industry works harder. Meet Saleh, terrorism supporter, singer, and quote-unquote actor. You may have seen Saleh a lot recently because he has miraculously been everywhere. Saleh celebrate, and they're claiming this footage shows Saleh celebrating Hamas rocket launches at Israel. I've seen this guy in a lot of places, but that's because these conspiracy theorists are sharing footage from his Instagram account over and over again. And now move to the second tweet they shared. This was part of the thread, as you can see, the reply. It was a part of one thread, the Israel account again. Here's another video of this star on his deathbed a couple of days later after an alleged airstrike. Notice anything strange about the machines behind him? Most of the machines are disconnected, and the ones which have fake stats. And then there's an image of a man laying down in a hospital with all sorts of tubes attached to him. That is not the same person. That is not Saleh. I looked into this. The original, the first, you can go to the second tweet. I have it there. There's another tweet in that thread. That first image is of Saleh. The one of him that they claim is him looking at rockets. But the image of the person in the hospital bed is actually a 16-year-old named Mohammed Zendik, who's not in Gaza, and he wasn't in a hospital bed recently. The video of him in the hospital bed was posted on TikTok in August. And the reason he was in the hospital was because he was at a refugee camp in the West Bank when the IDF raided the refugee camp, killing 2 people and injuring countless others. Mohammed Zendik, the 16-year-old in that video, just happened to be there, and he lost his leg. That's why he was in the hospital, because the IDF raided this camp in the West Bank, not Gaza, and their raid caused him to lose a leg. There are plenty of videos on Instagram of the first individual Saleh running around Gaza taking video. He's got both his legs. And then if you go to Instagram, TikTok, you could then see plenty of video from Mohammed Zendik's accounts of him today with one leg. It's not the same individual. They're in 2 separate areas. And both of them, though, clearly, the first guy's in Gaza taking video of what's actually happening in Gaza right now. And then the second video is of a guy who literally lost his leg because of the Israeli military. But they're not the same person. None of this is Pallywood. None of this is fake. None of this is staged. but you have the official Israeli government account claiming that this is staged footage from one individual. It is straight up like lies. Like the
Alex Jones level bullshit.
Yes. This is what Alex Jones owes the Sandy Hook parents.
Yeah, thank you for that clarity, because easily, just from me clicking on it before, you breaking down all of that, which I thank you for, just seeing it on X, on Twitter, and just all over social media, a lot of people were able to use this and say that this is fake, this is, they're acting, and you don't get that the misinformation check anymore on Twitter so much. They'll just add like extra information, but they are allowing this to just go through and as if it's actually a story that they're faking, and making Palestinians look, how they want them to look on social media.
You know how people are so worried right now about AI and AI being used and technology behind it? Like, we're getting fooled by video game footage from 2003. Like, we don't need advanced technology right now. We're sharing Arma 3 footage and being like, oh, those were Hamas fighters shooting down helicopters. It's real. I've seen it. It's on the internet. It's got to be true.
Didn't Ben Shapiro share that AI generated photo of what he alleged was a charred baby? But
that one is a little more complicated. People ran with that one because the only evidence that it wasn't was that they ran it through an AI system itself that's supposed to detect AI, images, and that AI detector was like, this is AI generated, but that's not proof that the picture isn't genuine. And if you actually run that picture through Google image search, it doesn't show up like results, and you can't see the original AI generated version. So that one's kind of spread by the more gray zone, which is like leftist InfoWars side of things.
I wouldn't even
not that I want to defend Ben Shapiro.
They're not even leftist.
I mean, Ben Shapiro shared this one, not from the Israel account, but from another account. There's literally that right wing end wokeness account that Elon Musk has helped promote in the past. They shared the most viral version of They shared the most viral version of this one, claiming this guy in the hospital bed guy is the same person. They had over 13 million views on their tweet sharing this one. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like this is ridiculous. It's absolutely like, and then there was that viral tweet earlier today from some crypto tech VC that claimed that we're losing he says, we're losing the information war. And his explanation was young people are anti-Israel. And his analysis was the reason they are anti-Israel is because TikTok is brainwashing them.
Transing the kids too.
It's not that they're seeing footage from people in Gaza and what's happening to them and their families in real time. It's not that actual footage of dead bodies and homes destroyed. It's not that. It's that the CCP is brainwashing our children. And of course, everyone started sharing it. Oh, this explains why the kids are wrong. This explains why the kids are wrong. Like the literal Principal Skinner meme. I mean, we are in a really bad place right now. And this is honestly even worse than like, oh, Trump lies. Because when that happens, you at least have half the country realizing this. This is literally like everyone versus the people who actually know what's going on, but everyone else thinks they're the ones who really know what's going on, and we're the liars, even though the facts are just bearing out the opposite to them.
Even the president of the United States, Joe Biden he's not helping at all, questioning what is real and what is not with the deaths in Palestine, who's really being attacked, and him saying that out loud, to the country is it's a bit unsettling because, I don't know how much longer he can try to keep up with this and act like what's happening isn't happening. Palestinian people they're dying. They're being murdered. Like genocide is being committed. And he's just still like, well, we really don't know. And the people of Israel, we stand right by you. We're going to stick right beside you. We don't know the numbers. We don't really know if we can count on what's going on. And there was like this list that came out And so many families' names on there. I think the first 70 or something of the sort was just one family. The next set was like, another set of a family. And just knowing that is as the deaths, and seeing on top of that, like, we're traumatized by seeing the video that's going on. And I know the president of the United States is seeing the same thing that we're seeing. It's just available to us online. We're seeing it in action. People are doing this. We're seeing Israeli social media influencers mock the deaths, the murder.
Right. Oh, that was
those are
that to
horrifying.
me is ridiculous. And it also doesn't help because we're seeing an influx of people being attacked, right? People who are look Middle Eastern or any sort, they're being attacked. So we see an influx of racism. Joe Biden isn't really helping. He's not helping at all. And I think it's real problematic with misinformation but it's like the misinformation is there, but then we have the video, right? We have people going live, we have all of that happening. So I don't know how people won't. I don't know how the president just can sit there and say what he's been saying. Again, it's really unsettling, and just to see social media in the mess that it is over what's happening as well.
Just before you play this clip, by the way, Rebecca, to your point, that he's done that multiple times. He did that with the 40 beheaded babies story, and then the White House official count. Yeah, they retracted that. He also did the same thing with the hospital bombing, which, again, like Matt said, the most rational thing you could say is at this point we don't know, right? But the evidence that is coming out, including that new New York Times investigation, is showing that the official stories that are coming out of the Israeli government doesn't seem to be true either. So at this time, we don't know. That would have been enough to just. Why are you going out there and saying that with confidence?
Yeah. With confidence.
Yeah. The 40 baby beheadings was so interesting because it was a journalist in I-24 News, and she was like, I just kind of heard some soldiers say 40 baby beheadings, and she said that, and then all these news stations were like, okay, that's a source, that's a direct source, we're going to use her. And then they all just started spewing like 40 baby beheadings, and it's just like, and we're still trying to dismantle that rumor, because that was a rumor. I'm not saying babies didn't die in the incident, but like 40 baby beheadings specifically was such misinformation. And I think it really just goes to play how much Middle Eastern people are constantly demonized in like these most barbaric ways. And it's not the first time, it won't be the last time. And I honestly blame the war on terror and George Bush and the Pentagon, but that's a different conversation. But the 40 baby beheadings, right when that came out, I was like, oh God, here we go. I was like, we're doing this again. But
That's all people can say. They'll continue to repeat that and think that we should just listen to that and not see what's going on and just dismiss everything that's going on. And that's what I don't like. I can't talk to people about it who are just like, well, you don't know. Like, what are you talking about? Here it is. The hospital bombing was to attack Hamas right then and there. So you're gonna attack people in the hospital. Why don't you get up under the ground? Like, figure out how. But the people in the hospital, so we don't care about them. Is that what we need? Is that what we're saying, that their lives didn't matter at all? And I don't understand how they try to make logic out of murder, but that's what's happening. People are being murdered.
Yeah. Elie Mystal had a phenomenal piece of The Nation about this. This was from like last week. I talk about it in my video tomorrow, but he talks about how Biden, rightfully so, is able to condemn the attack on October 7th in Israel, but he can't bring himself to also condemn Israel or even just say, hey, the people living in the desert need water, turn it back on. And that is
now he's downplaying numbers. He's trying to downplay them. Like, that is just so infuriating. It's just so ghoulish. You're like, what is this world sometimes?
Yeah.
No. And the thing, there was I forgot which journalist, but someone looked up the 30 of the past State Department reports on deaths in Gaza. And in each of these reports, the State Department sourced the Gaza Health Ministry as accurate and found
because
that
they've been reliable.
They are accurate.
They've been reliable.
Like, they have, like, when you see what's happening, they don't need to lie. Like, there's not necessary. Like, I think a lot of people are using the hospital thing, that the hospital as, because at first people thought the hospital was completely destroyed, and there was the claim that there was 500 dead. I mean, we still don't know what happened there. We don't know how that information got out. I have a theory, but it's just based on what we know right now, and is that word got around that the whole hospital was destroyed in the in the fog of war, and based on how many people are in the hospital, the assumption was 500 were dead, and that's what came out. And then from the next day, as they found out exactly where it was hit, obviously that number would get altered. But we're talking about like a specific instance where things were traveling fast and some mistakes were likely made as people were trying to figure out what was going on, which again, we still don't know exactly what happened in that instance. But we're then talking like, I think the number now is like, what, 7,000? So are we really going to quibble over whether, they might have counted, maybe it's just 6,500 people who are dead. Oh, I guess that's not no big deal. Like, if there is any discrepancy with the numbers, it's like
an undercount. There are thousands of people currently right now buried under rubble, and there's areas where they can't be dug out because those areas are being bombed, or it's too dangerous, or there's just no manpower to do it. It's like you can't imagine a more horrifying situation to then take that and be like, well, I think the numbers are being exaggerated to some degree. It's like when all the dust is settled, this is going to be devastation on a scale that we're just all going to be completely shell-shocked by. Just have to learn it on a regular basis.
Yeah. It is clarifying to me as somebody who grew up during the Iraq War, because it was so like to watch 9/11 and then see so many people just accept that we're gonna go into Iraq, we're gonna invade Afghanistan, and like looking back now as an adult, I was always curious, like, what the fuck happened? Because like I remember my dad reacting to the 2004 debate between Bush and Kerry when Kerry said, "Hey, you invaded a country that didn't attack us." My dad was like, "Yeah." And like as an adult, I remember that moment because it's like, wait, did nobody come to that realization like before the war happened? And so it's like I was always so perplexed by how there was support for this, how consent was manufactured. And now this has been very illuminating because you see in real time how the same, like there's so many similarities happening again, where you have this tragedy, 3,000 people die in 9/11, and then 1 million people get punished for it, died who had nothing to do with that. Same thing happening again. 1,400 dead, and now how many? It's so shocking, and it's like it's hard to process that information because like what I suspected was the case, which was just ignorance. That's not. It's so much worse than I anticipated. Now that I know as an adult and I see how it's happening, it's people are willingly accepting these dehumanizing narratives. They genuinely, like, based on what I've seen, they genuinely just don't think that Palestinians are human beings equal to them.
No.
And now imagine that there was no social media and there was no TikTok, there was no YouTube, it would be Iraq War 2.0 on steroids. Like it would be, the narrative would be completely. It already is heavily, pro-Israeli government, but it would, there would be no conversation.
We would have just got what the mainstream media was going to give us, and and shout out to the people who are working in mainstream media, who are pushing the truth. It's really hard in the space, but
and I do feel like they're only able to really do that because of the backing of social media and the years of finally people understanding what's going on with Palestinians.
They can talk about that because of that, and I'm appreciative of that. And I know I've mentioned him a bunch on this show, but like Mark Lamont Hill, he's going hard. He is making sure he doesn't care what is at risk. He's going to make sure
his interview on the Breakfast Club was so good.
Yes, and he was very informative, breaking it down. And that's what a lot of people need. People who are just willingly taking in this misinformation just because they want to be on the American side or pro-American, and they think that's patriotic. Yeah, this is it. But, to really inform yourself, to know what's going on, because a lot of people, as I said before, when I was asking the questions on the last episode, like, a lot of people don't really know what's happening. They're just going with talking points that they're hearing. And just because their grandparents or their parents are, pro this or pro that, get the information, figure it out. And there is a lot of video that may be traumatizing, but you can really look at and see what's going on. I know that
I just want to,
even for, I can't even believe, this is one thing. our country is funding this to me,
Yeah.
pushing a lot of money into Israel and to help them do what they're doing. Right. And then want to do things like ask us to pay for our student loans at this moment. We are traumatized. We're watching everything that's going on. We don't have time for that. We're watching you guys take money to literally go murder people.
Not to mention that Israel has universal health care. They
Right.
have like university assistance for students. They have a lot of social safety net programs that we heavily lack. And I do want to say something about Mark Lamont Hill. He lost his job at CNN over, speaking about Palestine. And, it takes true strength to really stand up to, established entities and just say like, hey, this is wrong. I'm going to speak out. And now he's in a much better platform, in a much better space where he's given that freedom to speak as well. So like, shout out to him. He did an amazing job interviewing the
former prime minister of Israel. Yeah.
Yes, the former prime minister. He did an amazing job doing that. But also I want to talk about the UN resolutions really quick. We've had multiple UN resolutions being introduced. I believe one was by Russia, 2 were by Brazil, and every single time America said no. America was the only country to definitively say no on the last one from my best recollection. And they said that the resolution did not clearly state that Israel had a right to defend themselves. And so then Biden said that, okay, we're going to open up the Rafah border for humanitarian aid, because the UN resolution was really just to like kind of pause and give humanitarian aid. We only saw about 54 trucks go through over the weekend, and none of them had fuel. We have about less than 24 hours before all of the hospitals are going to lose fuel. So we're talking about babies in the NICU, people who need dialysis, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's never cared. Him and Benjamin Netanyahu have been best friends for a very long time. And unfortunately, I feel like we're going to see this with any president that we elect, because Israeli lobby basically owns a lot of our politicians, both on the left and right side. And I hate to say it, but Joe Biden, I believe, has been paid out more than $4 million in total. So it's a lot of, Israeli lobby money. It's a lot of courting. And I don't like on an establishment, like when we talk about established Democrats and Republicans, like I don't know what could change. It's like worrisome, because like, yeah, I'm mad at Biden, but any other Democrat we vote in is still going to have that same ideology if they've been paid out by Israeli lobby.
Or even if they're not paid out, there's so much fears about them getting into your race. DMFI funding, your opponent. This is what happened to Nina Turner. I mean, she was 35 points ahead in her race, and then DMFI got involved and she lost. I mean, that goes to show you that like it is career suicide as a politician, not just as a politician. I mean, Ariana mentioned Mark Lamont Hill getting fired. There's also Katie Halper. There's Nathan J. Robinson. And currently in Israel, there's a crackdown on college students. There's been many students fired for speaking out against Israel on social media. They're also getting fired from their retail jobs. Like there's a huge censorship campaign. And one thing that I mean, we could talk about liberals for hours because they are rubbing me the wrong way. The thing
also
that
destroying
drives
their
me
own
nuts,
base. It's like they're
destroying their own
splintering
base.
their parties and their staffers and everyone involved in there. It's just like, I can't be a
Yeah.
part of this. I can't be complicit to this. Like I see it. Everyone sees it,
Nope.
Yeah, and shout out to all of the staffers who are speaking up, and the people within the State Department who are trying to stage like a mutiny. Shout out to the Muslim members of Biden's administration that are considering resigning or at least trying to pressure. That's really important because right now, what Biden's administration is doing, I mean, I don't think he understands how he is driving a massive wedge between him and his base of support. Because I mean, and going back to like we didn't talk about this yet, but the Al Jazeera chief correspondent in Gaza, his entire family was taken out. They were killed.
Yeah.
His wife, his son, his daughter. But moments before that happened, Antony Blinken said that he talked to the Qatari prime minister about getting them to ease up, getting Al Jazeera to ease up on the coverage because, it's a little bit too objective. He called it incitement, but just reporting the facts is incitement apparently. And then his whole family's taken out.
That
like,
is
Do you remember when the reaction from liberals when Trump said that the press is the enemy of the people, and now we have Biden's administration pressuring a regime to censor an outlet that's doing objective journalism. It is shocking to me. And then Joy Behar on The View today lambasting Rashida Tlaib, the one Palestinian American in Congress, because she is calling for a ceasefire. Because she won't retract what she said about the hospital. No one else will retract what they said when more analyses are showing that what Israel is saying is not adding up. It's just, it feels like we're living in the upside down. And the people who should, in theory, know better, which is liberals, they don't, because liberals are kind of like, this is how we get to these like NIMBYs, not in my backyard, right? Where it's like, oh my God, I care about the suffering and the unhoused. But then when affordable housing project goes up in your neighborhood, it's like, oh, but I don't want the poor's next to me. I don't want this in my face. I don't want to see Palestinians on TV. Yeah, it's that hypocrisy that's so frustrating. John Fetterman tweeted out earlier, he's gonna make my fucking head explode. He was like, this is reprehensible. And then it goes to a picture of somebody who spray painted Free Palestine on some bricks. And I'm thinking like, wait,
are you kidding? I can't even
tweet. I was staring at this for a lot. I'm like, okay, what is reprehensible?
Right.
That is some
There's got to be like
extreme-ass
something
propaganda.
horrible that is spray painted here that I'm missing. Like, is this a magic eye picture? Like, what the fuck is happening? But no, like if you pull up the tweet, it says Free Palestine. He's like, no, this is the only thing that should be displayed, and it's like an American flag with the missing Israeli hostages. Which, by the way, Israel killed 50 of them themselves, bombing. Like, they don't care about their own hostages, apparently. It's wild to me.
Also, not to be like I condemn Hamas, okay? Just to make this clear
we all condemn Hamas.
Yeah.
This is a condemn Hamas street.
On this show.
Yes, we all condemn the actions of Hamas.
Oh,
they were terrible.
But yeah, it's interesting because Hamas has been trying to talk to Israel, and Israel's just been going like, nope, I don't want to talk to you. We don't want to negotiate. So
right, no, that was confirmed, right? Where they wanted to release a couple of hostages, but Israel rejected it. I don't remember what the reason was for, but
they're like, no.
That's kind of why what Matt Binder was posting is so offensive, though, because like to imply that there's some like robust film industry going on in Gaza prior to this, as if the situation wasn't dire before this started, right? As if it wasn't an open air prison where they're dependent entirely on an outside source for food, fuel, medicine, and that's all just been cut off, right? And now things are just beyond despair. To start saying that this is like there's media campaigns or mass media campaigns to try and get actors to pretend to be victims and stuff like that, like you don't need that. You can see for yourself with your own eyes. There's just like, it's not even destroyed buildings, it's just nothing. It's just like gray dust, like just as far as the eye can see, just endless destruction. And every time I see that photo, it's just like there's nothing there. Like there's absolutely, you can't tell me this is precision strikes to be able to defend your own populace. This is leveling another densely populated area to nothing, to just absolutely nothing. There's nothing there anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the photos that
very, very telling.
Sure.
Like you can't look at that and not think so many civilians are trapped under that. Like
to claim that this is like there's collateral damage. No, the majority of the people that are being killed are civilians. That is not collateral. That you are purposely killing civilians. That is obvious.
How many
guys,
Hamas
don't forget
fighters?
about the Gaza film industry, though.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
But do we?
Real. This is AI. This is all of this. This is, the real outrage was that sign, or that writing on the wall. See, this is the selective outrage.
Well, it is from CNN. So there you go.
This is ridiculous. I don't understand. But people will say that and then they'll go and say CNN is the enemy, just for posting something like that. And then when CNN talks about how, they need to support Israel, then they're going to be like, this is where people need to get their news. It's so fickle online.
Or they'll just post the destruction and they'll say it's Israel. So Justin Bieber did that.
Right. Yeah, and Jamie Lee Curtis, where she showed like the Palestinian kids being bombed,
and Justin Bieber
from Israel, and she's like, terror from above, stand with Israel. It's like, no, those are actually Palestinians getting bombed.
That's really dumb.
But how many Hamas fighters were taken out of this? Do we have a number yet? Like, how many Hamas fighters successfully were eliminated through completely destroying and leveling entire blocks where there is nothing left? Nothing.
I mean, Hamas, I'm sorry to say it, I'm starting to feel like Hamas is kind of just an excuse. I think this was always their goal. This was always their goal.
No, I agree with you. And that's, that's my opinion. I agree. And, I feel like, okay, we've been hearing so much about Hamas now, and we condemn Hamas. But there are people that live outside of that who have been murdered. And so, like, for the hospital, for instance, y'all would be like, F all them people in the hospital, F them babies, F all of them. And just because Hamas is allegedly hiding underneath it, we're going to just bomb the hospital. We're going to bomb communities. We're going to do that. Like, can we make sure that the people are safe? Can we make sure we get them to, like, how are we not helping the people if you guys really are trying to get Hamas? Y'all don't care who's in the way. Y'all don't care. Y'all want to really clear out Palestine. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, my husband made a really great point about the main shooter situation, because he still hasn't been caught. He's still at large. And so who knows where he's hiding. And it's like, my husband was like, imagine what would happen if they, deployed this logic and they just started bombing blocks or bombing cities trying to, to catch him.
Or
like,
I should be asking you as a white person if you condemn the shooter, Mike, before you start talking. Do you condemn the shooter and the shooter's action?
Condemn the shooter.
All right. Yes. As a white person, I also condemn the shooter.
Was he gay though? Because if he was,
I don't know.
If he was straight, then that's on.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Then the straightest member of the left as well.
Your husband brought up a really good, point that he made, because imagine though, they're looking for this shooter, right? Who is allegedly still at large. Picture everywhere, by the way. On another day, they will find somebody, but they can't find the shooter. Anyway, committed a mass murder, and it's dangerous. Would they go out and just start in the local areas where he may or may not be? Will they just start shooting at people's homes or bombing people's homes looking for this person? Like it, I don't.
It's complicated.
Because you can try to rationalize it in so many ways. It's like, okay, he could end up killing more people. So if we just take out this entire block, well, maybe we'll save more lives in the end. Like, you almost get into these weird utilitarian calculations where it's like, okay, hang on a second. If protecting human life is our number one goal, then you cannot approach it that way. You can't level an entire block just to catch one person.
Or you just don't think of them as humans. I mean, that's
true. Yeah,
and actually, this is the clip I was going to play earlier.
Oh yeah, that clip was infuriating. There's so much rage bait online right now. I swear to God, it's killing me.
This is the former Israeli ambassador to the UN. Here you go.
And about something else, the collective punishment, as he put it, of the Palestinian people. And I want to talk about that in the context of the blockade and keeping fuel out of Gaza. I just wonder if you think that that is really necessary.
I'm very puzzled by the constant concern which the world and also Britain, I must say, Mark, is showing for the Palestinian people, and is actually showing for these horrible, inhuman animals who have done the worst atrocities that this century has seen, and the worst atrocities that Jews have suffered since the Holocaust. I mean, when the United States reacted to 9/11, I don't remember people shedding tears for the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. Your country, Mark, actually, Britain, actually joined them and even sent your royals to fight in Afghanistan. When the Ukrainians reacted to Russia's invasion, I don't remember people worrying about the poor Russian soldiers and whether they had enough food. All of a sudden, when it comes to Israel, everybody is becoming a great humanitarian, totally forgetting what happened 2.5 weeks ago, which is unforgettable and unforgiven.
Play that again, just people could. I want to make sure people heard that. He doesn't say Hamas. I want people to be absolutely clear here.
He's very
100%.
clear. He's very clear here. And you know what? I said this. We played this clip earlier in the Majority Report. I also think it's pretty disgusting to call anyone any sort of dehumanizing language. Human beings are completely capable of doing horrible things on the basis of being humans. Humans do bad things. So that's that. But he takes it even a step 1,000 times further here. Play it again. I want to make sure people understand who he's calling savages and animals and whatever else he said.
You know, I'm very puzzled by the constant concern which the world and also Britain, I must say, Mark, is showing for the Palestinian people, and is actually showing for these horrible, inhuman animals who have done the worst atrocity.
There you go. Also, kind of him to include Britain when saying the rest of the world. What was that all about? He said, play that part too. Like, that was really weird.
That this century has seen, and the worst atrocities that Jews have suffered since the Holocaust. I mean, you know, when the United States...
we don't have to listen to him anymore.
No, it's too much.
Yeah.
Didn't Richie Sunak just go visit Israel?
Yeah.
So did I mean, they're all doing it.
Yeah, we've got governors doing it. There was.
I mean,
Newsom.
if they were to do it to
yeah.
try and, like, you know, de-escalate the situation, that's one thing. But it's just they're doing it as like a show of like support.
Yeah, to stand right by them. So who is standing by Palestine? I haven't heard.
No one's going to Gaza. I'll tell you that.
They're not.
No president's going to Gaza.
They're not. They're right there in Israel, and they are supporting them, and they want us to. I don't see here we go. The math doesn't math. Literally, these people they have soldiers, they have equipment. You guys are funding them. Other people are funding them. You know, they have allies. Palestine, little old Palestine, people in Gaza. What do they have? Nothing. You wanted to mention that you sent trucks over there and without what it needed to have, and come on.
They don't even have their own borders or their own waters or their own air.
Medical staff are drinking IV bags.
Control anything.
Like IV bags. Medical staff are drinking the IV bags right now because they don't have enough water for themselves to be able to help people. Yeah.
Yeah, even if the bombing were to stop right now, this would be a humanitarian crisis of unfathomable proportions. But the fact that it's still going on and the aid hasn't come in, only 54 trucks, as Ariana Jasmine said. I think there was like hundreds of trucks. There was like 200 from what I heard.
There's hundreds of trucks that go in every day just on a regular basis before all of this started. So the fact that they cut all the trucks off and there's only been 54 that were let in the span of a couple of days is like really bad.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's really just devastating to think about. It's like I'm just going about my day. You know, I'm at the store getting some groceries, and people are like trapped, starving. It's hard to move on. It's hard to focus on anything but this because it's so tragic. And the hardest part is that all of this could end right now if Biden just said stop, because Israel is not going to go against what their number one ally says, what the most powerful country on the planet says. But the fact that this is continuing, it is a choice by the Biden administration. He is as complicit.
Well, it's not just not stop. It's here's $14 billion and $100 billion defense bill that we're passing. Like, all right, okay, nice.
And what does Gaza have to fight back? Like, come on, y'all. Like,
they have
people.
Like, that's what the UN, the Israeli ambassador went to the UN and he was like, we are getting hit by these rocks every single day. And it literally looked like a skit off of SNL. Like, it was ridiculous. But also, I do just want to say that, like, sorry, just really quick. We see this kind of dehumanization when we look at any kind of genocide. And I, like, Mike, when I watch your videos, I do think you highlight this really well when it comes to, like, the struggles that trans folks go through in America, especially in the South and just like Republican-led states. But it's just like this dehumanization, like they are not people, therefore it is okay for us to treat them this way. Is like, it's the same playbook. It's just playing in a different area.
To me, it's racist as hell. Like, it just gives racism, and that's just what it just reminds me of how Black people aren't really seen as humans, weren't seen as humans, right? Since they got here and aren't treated as people. And same thing and how like it's just for people what they look like and what they believe. And that to me is why they're being attacked because they don't believe the same thing. They don't look the same way. That's why they were sent off into the area and given nothing, essentially. And now they found a way to try to literally obliterate them. I don't like it. And it's very racist. I don't care. I don't understand how America can say they don't stand for racism. They're not a racist country. They're all this stuff, yada, yada. I'm talking about the Biden administration in particular. And then stand right beside Israel.
There is one world leader that is speaking up.
Oh, I saw this. Yeah.
Lula.
Não se trata de ficar discutindo quem
Should
está
read the
certo, quem está
subtitles if
errado,
it's
quem
not
deu o
dubbed.
primeiro tiro, quem deu o segundo. O problema é o seguinte aqui, não é uma guerra, é um genocídio que já matou quase 2.000 crianças que não tem nada a ver com essa guerra. Que
You should read the subtitles because some people are just listening.
Well, I mean,
okay.
the gist of it is he's calling it a genocide. That's like there's no need to really read the whole thing, but
Yeah, he said the word genocide, which is huge.
Eu não sei como é que ser humano é capaz de guerrear sabendo que o resultado dessa guerra é a morte de criança inocente.
yeah, he doesn't understand how war can be waged and it'll be the death of innocent children, and he's calling it genocide.
They don't care about kids. If they're anything like America, and if they're like allies, best friends with America, we see how America don't care when kids are murdered here, and I can't imagine how they would feel like the Israeli people would feel over there. Like they don't care. They have one job that they're trying to do, and that's to clear out the Palestinian people.
It's so sad too because every single time we have one of these like, oh, the government's about to shut down, we need to figure out the budget. Like I was literally in DC the first time it happened because I was lobbying against a bunch of cuts that they were trying to do to veterans, to, single family homes and all these different things, like all these different welfare programs. And it's like, this is about to come up in, I believe they said 45 days. So it's about to come up again. And I'm not really sure about the new House Speaker. He looks a little crazy. So, we're going to he is crazy, right? Any politician from Louisiana is just, anyways, we can get to that later.
Any Republican.
Right. But Louisiana is different though. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I know that this budget conversation is going to come up again. And I just know that there's going to be people that have to fight again just for basic funding for our veterans, for like children, for healthcare. I mean, healthcare got cut with so many people this year. Like so many people lost their healthcare, and it's just like, but we're not even batting an eye when it comes to $100 billion to Ukraine and Israel. Like there has to be a point where the American people just kind of look at this and go,
And
like,
the border wall. Don't forget the border wall. Yeah.
The border wall, right? How can I forget? How can I forget?
Build that wall, hell yeah.
It's so sad though. It's so sad because Israel has so much money and they have been doing this propaganda machine, calling anyone that speaks out against them anti-Semitic, like the Canary mission, all these different things, and you're still flopping. You are still flopping in the public opinion. Like if you have that much backing and you're still flopping in public opinion, like that should tell you how you're really on the wrong side of history here. If you have that much money and that many allies and you're still flopping in the public sphere, you know what I mean? It's sad. It's truly sad and it's pathetic to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, every day we ain't got no money. America ain't got no money. We're about to go through a government shutdown every other day. Can't find money, can't find a dollar, can't allocate it to where it's supposed to go. None of that. But yet something like this, you guys find money magically to go give, to contribute towards killing people, innocent people, by the way. But yet, then you send out messages for us to go. Y'all are funding genocide and then are sending out messages for us to pay our student loans. Go to hell, Biden administration. Everybody
I know.
Ass. Okay.
Yeah. Back to your point, Rebecca, about the racism issue. To recommend Elie Mystal's article again because it was so good. He kind of ties it because currently there's a lot of evidence, anecdotal evidence, but it's evidence that Biden is fucking up very badly in Michigan in particular, where there's a very big Arab American community. And Elie Mystal mentions that and kind of ties this to a broader issue about how this is going to trickle down to Black voters, voters of color, because to turn your eye against, marginalized people who are suffering to support colonization, they're going to remember that. And it's not just like voters of color, it's young people. And so with that in mind, when you extend this to like all of the Democrats and you look at that ceasefire resolution that Cori Bush had introduced, so I think it was Waleed Shahid who posted all, what was it, like 16 people who support that right now. It's all people of color. There's not a single white person. So like Democrats don't realize how bad that looks.
I noticed that looking at the image. I was like,
it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it really stands out.
Brown people dying, and the Democrats who claim to care about marginalized people are proving again that, like, well, you know what, the utility of people of color, of Black voters, it's not an election year, so they can fuck off. Like, that's how it feels. And that's what Elie Mystal was communicating. And it's like, look, we suck it up a lot. And like voters of color, they vote for the lesser of two evil, but not every time. Not everyone will. And he won by such slim margins that even just losing a little bit is going to hurt him. And then to go back to your point also, Rebecca, you made a lot of the same points that Elie Mystal made, which are really fantastic. It's like, when you look at this aid, if there's more aid to Israel and even more aid to Ukraine as well, but yet people living in Chicago, for example, they can't afford to pay rent. They're struggling to feed their family. The child tax credit expired. Like, they're going to begin to ask, what about my aid? You know what I mean? And like, I don't think he understands the irreparable harm that he's doing right now, as well as all Democrats too.
Well, yeah, not to mention, why is Biden trying to conflate the two in completely opposite directions? Like, in one case, he's like, we have to stop the illegal, and I agree with this statement, the illegal invasion of Ukraine by Russians. And at the same time, we have to destroy these terrible terrorists. Both are in America's interests. I was like, that's when, you just said the upside down. That's when I'm like, how are you trying to sell this with a straight face, right? Completely, diametrically opposed conflicts and be like, we're supporting this side and this one, and this side and this one.
Yeah, two different power dynamics.
Yeah.
And I'm just showing a link here. His approval is down 11% in the last month. Now, it's always hard to pinpoint exactly the reason for something like this, but you have to imagine. It's got to, this conflict.
This conflict has to play a part in how Biden's approval is dipped most recently, for sure.
100%.
He has not handled this at all in a way that I would believe that's presidential. I could never, if I were, looking to vote for Joe Biden, this would have been it for me. This would have been it for me. And he's done a lot of things that I should have crossed
younger voters too.
His administration, but this would have been it for me. The way that he has stood beside and allowed and has said words, but has not condemned Israel, and hasn't stood up for Palestine. Kind of in the way that most recently I heard him and just say, we don't really know how many people that were Palestinians that were killed. I said, no, he didn't. Not the president of the United States. Like, for him to say that, I'm like, you know what? He does not want to be president again. He just must not want to, because there's no way. There's no way.
Just towing the typical U.S. line. Like, this is all part and parcel for what the United States, official policy is in this regard. Right. Yeah.
It's interesting because I think Mike, you brought this up when, when we had the Ajax coup in Iran in the 1950s, and then the actual revolution in 1979, you had this like huge influx of Palestinians that were kicked out and forced to refuge in other countries. They America and just Western forces have destabilized the Middle East for so long. We're talking about Syria, Yemen, Libya, so many different countries, even Iran, Palestine, etc. I don't think they realized that now people like myself, like someone who's a product of my father couldn't stay in Iran after the revolution. And so I am a product of Western interference in my country of origin. And so people like myself, they did not think that, you know, the millions of people that they expelled and they destabilized and had to refuge in America, now we are allowed. Now I have a TikTok account. You know, most of us are in the streets protesting. They didn't calculate that a lot of us went to Michigan, right? My dad first went to Michigan when he first came to America. There's a huge Middle Eastern diaspora community there, and they just didn't really think about it. And another issue that, and I actually wrote an op-ed for Newsweek last year about this. Democrats do not speak to Middle Eastern people, and this has been an issue. They don't speak to Middle Eastern people. They do not try to court us. They don't hear us at all. We have been begging to be added to the US Census. I'm considered white according to the US Census. Therefore, I don't get any special scholarships. When I apply to a college, I have to put white, or else it's technically wrong if I don't put white, right? So it's been a trend where just America, not just America, but other countries as well, have ignored us, right? And I think this tide is starting to shift, because I would be very surprised if Michigan votes Democrat again. I'm going to be honest. I would be very surprised. And I just don't think they really calculated any of that either when they were destabilizing the Middle East.
Well, it's really hard to say that you're like, you know, opposing fascism and destroying, you know, Donald Trump, and then being like, but we're also going to partner with what has been called the Donald Trump, you know, of Israel. And then that's going to be a tough sell.
The issue really is turnout. Like, I'm not all that fearful that these people will, you know, start voting for Trump or anything, but it's more that they're just not going to turn out. They're just like, they're going to see what's the point? What's the point of doing this if you're going to be backing shit like this? Like, it really shows a real divide and just a lack of willingness to acknowledge the obvious. And I think a lot of them are also just miscalculating how big of an issue this is, how clear it is to a lot of people.
Upsetting.
And there was a member of the Ontario NDP this week who was kicked out of the party because this is somebody who is a Black disabled woman, was an activist for homelessness, disability rights, before she became a politician, kicked out of the party because she spoke up about Israeli apartheid. And then since she was kicked out, now leadership there's this massive backlash. 2 different riding associations have called for the leader to resign over kicking her out of the party. They're now trying to play catch up. Like, 2 of their top members have now openly discussed, you know, the atrocities that are being committed in Gaza. A lot of them still not saying that Israel's doing it, but they're just like mentioning, oh, people are dying in Gaza, not saying who's doing it. But they're trying to almost like kind of save face here, and because they're now realizing how serious of an issue this is and how wrong they were to kick out this woman who was the trailblazer in speaking out about this issue, and now the rest of them are hiding behind her.
She was reiterating a lot of the talking points from Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Yes. Like, it was not extreme language by any means.
She quoted the UN in her statement, and that statement was what led to her being censured by the conservatives who hold parliament. So
what's her name?
Sarah Jama.
Sarah Jama. I covered it this week, but
okay.
She's also Muslim, by the way. So you know, it was like you're silencing. Sorry, go ahead.
She has family in Gaza as well, I believe. Yep. But so it's the whole. It's just so. It's so incredibly, like, I had to take a nap today. Like, I was gonna do a video. I was gonna cover something. I'm just like I was on like social media all morning. Like, I can't. Like, there was too much. I was collecting tabs of things that I want to talk about, but it was just like, it was overwhelming, and I just had to take the day off because it was just this issue in particular, because it is so clear, yet people have lost their fucking minds. And it was different when it came to, like, you know, the Russia invasion. It's clear Russia's the aggressor. They're taking over Ukraine. Like, and people in power were acknowledging this. And yes, there are people who, you know, go a little too far in the other direction, but they're not the majority voice. I'm not worried about that. This worries me because people in power are not acknowledging the reality. That is what is so frustrating about this. Whether it's, you know, presidents, whether it's politicians, whether it's the media at large, that's not being recognized, which is why it is so, for me, it's so debilitating. Like it makes me just want to curl up in a ball and go to bed. Like it's just, it's too much. It's too much. It's overwhelming.
It's just so much in the world, like, and for us to process, like even here, our own issues here with the mass murder yesterday. I hate to say it, and I say this all the time with each mass murder. We've become so desensitized that the way that we would usually cover a mass murder, we don't anymore. Yesterday, dozens of people died, and our issue is gun control. Nobody wants to discuss that. They don't want to have the conversation. It's not that deep anymore. And yesterday I was just like, I am tired, because you don't know where you can go anymore. There's a war that's happening, and we're witnessing this because of social media. We're watching people die every single day, and the country that we live in is standing beside the enemy. And then we have, because of no gun control, because we've seen kids die, be murdered. We've heard the sounds of kids being murdered time and time again. People being murdered just from being Black, or just going out, or people are just upset or whatever, because they can get their hands on guns. Mentally unstable people just able to get their hand on guns and just go out and murder people. And there are things that we can do to stop this. And we just are living in the world, and specifically in a country that's willing to do nothing to stop it. So yesterday I was like, damn, I just need a day. I need a day. It's really tiring. It's sad. It's depressing.
Yeah. Doesn't help that there's so much toxicity online too. Especially regarding this issue. Like I made some tweets today, just in general, solidarity to like Rashida Tlaib tweets and stuff like that, and like calling Marjorie Taylor Greene like an ape. Not exactly, not literally, but like just shit talking, and like the responses. The responses are fucking insane, where it's like, you want to kill babies, and and one of the most insane things that I've seen repeatedly this week, and I have banned each and every single one of these people who have come into my comment section and said this, is they basically said that and it's mostly conservatives, but some liberals too, that I am a bad gay because I'm supporting the enemy in supporting Palestinian people because they don't support gay rights.
Oh,
and I
that's
think
true.
that Juniper had the best response ever, because Tommy Loren like shared all the LGBTQ holidays, and she's like, how many people in Palestine do you think celebrate these? You should ask Queers for Palestine. And Juniper was like, well, you probably don't celebrate any of them, but I don't want your house to be bombed, and your family to be killed, right?
Don't like you, mean it, but nobody wants you to die.
Yeah. It's like, it's such a reductionist thing to say as well, because like half of Gaza is kids, and I promise you, they're not necessarily thinking about these types of social issues. A lot of post-materialist issues aren't being thought of when you're just like trying to find cover to like survive, right? When you're trying to eat. So
and opposition to apartheid
bizarre.
isn't dependent on how progressive you think another society is. Like, that shouldn't be, but like, why? That's not a gotcha. I said, like, Matt Binder had a great back and forth with Tim Pool over this, and they were fighting online, but it's like, he was doing this thing where he's like, I'm going to give $100,000 to send Queers for Palestine to Gaza, lol. Like, it's fucking hilarious. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, none of that shit should have anything to do with you being like, I'm against occupation.
Yeah, it's offensive because it's like, you're weaponizing my identity against me, bitch. I'm the one who gets to weaponize my identity if I'm going to weaponize that shit. Oh, fuck off. It's so insulting. It's like, if I see a news story and it's like, okay, 16 people were killed, my thought isn't, I wonder if they were gay, or they supported gay people. If the answer is no, they deserved it. If the answer is yes, then they did. Like, who thinks like that? That's so bizarre.
The thing is, they think like that, which is why they're projecting.
Exactly. That's not true. They don't even like
which is
gay
insane.
people. They don't like LGBT.
Right.
We just went through a whole fight when kids were murdered. They said that the kids were murdered. Why? Because of y'all. LGBT. They blamed you, but now they're telling you, hey, look, why would you support?
Shouldn't this bother you?
They don't like. No, you don't like me.
It's so
you don't
exactly.
like me. You blame
Yeah,
everything on,
that's it.
On
That's it.
LGBTQIA plus. So,
Yeah.
That's it.
It's like, you want me to
it's so
die.
insane.
You're projecting your desire for me to die onto them. And like, one thing that I know is going to blow people's minds, but LGBTQ plus people actually exist everywhere in the world, including the Middle East. And all the, like, okay, I am like one of the first people, if not the first person, to have published work on LGBTQ social movement organizations in the Middle East, particularly North Africa. So it's like these movements literally exist, and there are people who are fighting. Like, and let's just for a second assume that every single like there's a genocide going on, and all of them they think that gay people are terrible. 100% of them confirmed they hate gay people. I don't think they should be bombed into oblivion because of that. I don't think that their families
Or the
should
children
be massacred.
should be. And,
Yeah, I mean, part of being in a marginalized
Unless they're
community,
elderly, then you want it.
if they're old, then we'll talk about it. Okay.
You don't punch old people in the face.
That's a callback to a joke about like.
Yeah, they like to smear me, Ariana, as an elder abuser, which is not true.
Oh.
Because
You smeared yourself, sir.
I joke about wanting or laughing at the thought of Mitch McConnell dying. It's
We
a
don't
whole
have to
thing.
I mean, we're talking about
retread those.
geriatric patients in Congress. I think I'll give Mike a pass here. You know.
Yeah.
I would just like to say that Israel was forcing gay Palestinians to become informants. They were blackmailing them to become informants for the Israeli government. So anyone that brings up like, oh, Israel is a beacon of LGBTQ plus, rights, they don't allow gay marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not legalized. They also blackmailed gay Palestinians to work for their intelligence programs, and quite literally threatened their life. So I mean, like, whenever anyone says like Israel is the beacon of like, LGBTQ plus rights, it's actually really false. It's not true.
Yeah, it's kind of I find it offensive. It's like, oh, that's the beacon where you have to go elsewhere to get married and then come back for them to recognize it. I find that actually like doesn't seem like a beacon to me.
It's not.
Like, I mean,
they'll tell you that it is, and they want you to
Yeah.
believe that because they said it, and that's what they believe. So because they believe it, you have to believe it. And then it's like they don't even like you. If this didn't even happen, they would go back to blaming LGBTQIA plus, any minority communities for whatever the issue of the day is. They're gonna say it's that problem.
No, let's talk about the minority and how the minority communities and how they treat Ethiopian Jews, because we can go there. There's a lot of documentation about how they have tried to expel them from the country, how they have tried to sterilize them without them knowing, how they have given them birth control without them even having any knowledge that they are being injected birth control. So, Israel itself is a very problematic state and a very racist state. They're ranked as one of the most racist countries in the world. So, this is just all IDF sprung propaganda. It really is, because when you look into it, it's still you think that a country that is, first of all, I'm not convinced that that's your country if you literally need to constantly genocide people for it, but that's beyond the point. You're trying to convince me that a country that you're putting people in a little small corner, putting them in like the biggest open air prison in the world, you're not letting them leave, you're not letting them come in. You're trying to convince me that they're the beacon of LGBTQ plus rights, that they treat any minority or marginalized group properly. You're out of your damn mind, because if they treat Palestinians that way, I'm not convinced they would treat anyone that they don't find as like, worthy of their treatment the same. Like, I'm just not convinced, and I feel like a lot of this propaganda tries to, say that they're, a democracy in the Middle East. And also I just want to say this last point. It's very insulting because Iran was a democracy, but America messed that up. A lot of these countries were a democracy.
Western people's business.
America started fumbling and meddling into our business, and then they fucked us up, respectfully. So it's just it's so demeaning on so many different levels, because it also implies that like Middle Eastern people like myself who are from Iran, like, we don't come from a democracy. Like, we were a democracy. You guys messed it up. You know what I mean? So I just want to.
And they want to act like they're coming in to help and assist. I know, because I'm a product of Haitian immigrants, and we know how when the U.S. got involved with Haiti, a lot of things like that. But I don't like to see how America will like try to what I'm seeing right now is just, I just, and it so sucks that we're here. Like, we're here in America. America's supposed to stand for all of these things. And people are telling us how patriotic we have to be. We got to do what America says. Stand right beside America as they stand by people who have blood on their hands. Okay. I know from how, a lot of how their inner works with Haitians have been. So I know what they've done there. And I know what a lot of politicians that people are telling me to love, right, have done there. And I'm like, nah, I can't. This is like, it's not. So I know what America is capable of. It's really sad that we have to sit here and watch all of that. But I like that people here, we can talk and we can rebel against that, because we know that we don't believe that. And we don't have to believe it just because they're forcing us to, just because politicians are telling us it's right. We know, Ariana, because you come from Iran. You know the history. You know what your parents went through. You know that historically. Same thing for me. No matter what they say, I'm not going to believe it because I know exactly what's actually happening. So yeah, no. Forget them politicians. F them politicians and everybody that tries to get us to stick to what they believe. And that's the problem now in Israel. They mad because people don't believe in what they believe in. Okay. So they want to commit genocide. That's just that. That's just that. And especially because and the Americans, the American Christians, they believe that, Israel, they want to see it as this is what God wants. I do not believe that this is what God wants. I consider myself a Christian. I like to go to the club. I like to drink. I like to do all of that. So whatever it may look like for other people, but I don't think that's very Christian for what's happening over there. I don't think Jesus would have wanted that.
Oh, and listening to what Mike was saying about Marjorie Taylor Greene, trying to, say that Rashida Tlaib is an anti-Semite. Like, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an anti-Semite. She's just an extreme racist. She had to go to a Holocaust museum to learn that it was bad. The space lasers conspiracy, all that shit. Like, you are the racist. Like, goddamn, you shouldn't be like getting on a podium being like, these disgusting comments, by Rashida, they are anti-Semitic and all this kind of stuff. Like, holy shit.
Of course,
that's why she does it,
though. To do that, they can't wait for the moment for the person that they've been racist against this whole time. They have tried to quiet her, and all of that, right? And she's one of their peers. All of a sudden, now they want to start anti-Semitic. They want to start, but it's like, y'all been racist this whole damn time. And you wait for a moment where you can try to utilize that and have people look at her like she's wrong. And of course, people are going to look at her beliefs, what she looks like, and they're going to say like she wants terrorism. She's for like she's not for the right thing. How could she, as a leader in America, we must, remove her. They go real extreme about it. Marjorie Taylor Greene sat there and said a lot of controversial things about them kids that was murdered at that school. And they still let her be. She did a lot of crazy stuff against LGBTQIA people in office. And she's still seated.
What's sad is that her district is so safe too. I would be very surprised if someone's able to flip it. Lauren Boebert, the man running again, he has the personality of a fucking cardboard box, but I do think there's hope there. Marjorie Taylor Greene is safe. She's not going anywhere unless someone can kick her out.
I wouldn't be shocked.
It's the height of irony that she, like, if I'm recalling her tweet correctly, so she is calling Rashida Tlaib an anti-Semite because she led the Hamas insurrection by speaking at the Jews for Peace rally for the ceasefire. Like, it's so incredibly ironic. And then I think that Jordan Uhl made the really good point. He shared like the video of Max Miller saying we're going to turn Gaza into a parking lot, saying zero repercussions for Max Miller for saying that, like saying we're going to turn it into a parking lot. But Rashida Tlaib is getting censured, or they're going to vote to censure her. And here's what I want to put out into the world. How many Democrats are going to vote for that? There's going to be a lot, probably. I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't look good.
No, she doesn't have much support. Like I wish that she had more support from her peers. And a lot of Democrats are going to look at this because, like she's against because she's speaking out. How can somebody who is so close to the people there and what they believe in know what if you expect them to be saddened with Israel? Like, let's be real here. Let's be real here. Man, it's just, I hate it. Y'all, I really don't like it. It makes me upset because we have the worst people who are seated, who people are like, and we're going to see Democrats. We're going to start seeing people really lean in and we're going to show their true colors, right? In this specific moment. We see it now. It's the quiet part being really loud, the quiet people to me that are really loud right now.
Yeah.
But it's so frustrating too that you're seeing all these like accusations of Greta Thunberg was anti-Semitic because she had an octopus plushie or stuff like that.
God,
and again, the posturing for someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's like overwhelmingly long documented history of doing that shit, from saying like the California laser story, she tried to get away with that, saying I never said that it was Jewish space lasers. That's completely fake news. She said the Rothschilds and said that multiple times, like other organizations that are associated with anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. After that, she's also the person who was talking about Hitler statues and being like, well, I mean, they will teach us our history. What's so wrong with the idea of a Hitler statue being present around Lake Town and stuff like that? Not to mention, I had to go to a Holocaust museum to learn the Holocaust was bad. Like this is someone who spews anti-Semitism, right? Like the Nick Fuentes, like they're not subtle about it. It's not coded. There's not little like toys in the background that secretly mean things.
Yeah, she goes on Steve Bannon's show all the time, who is explicitly anti-Semitic. He didn't want his kids to go to school with Jewish kids.
That's right.
I mean, it's wild to, like, these people, they just have no shame. Yeah,
they don't forget. They just like to, in front of our face. They are literally playing in our face, and people are accepting it. That is where the problem is for me. Like they're not doing anything that is, nothing is smart about any of the moves that they're making. They're just doing it out loud, and we're just going with it. And that's why I'm like, I want more of our leaders to say more, like to condemn those people and to name it a Hamas, whatever, a Hamas erection, whatever the case may be. And y'all, she was literally one of the leaders of the insurrection, right? Of the
instigators. She was definitely one of the. She was definitely one of the people who used her platform to talk about it a lot. Yes,
she led pages though. She on Facebook, there were pages where they were talking about doing this. So she led them. She led, and Facebook and all them things allowed it. So I feel like because of that, she has the blood on her hands. These people are domestic terrorists. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So they have no room to really talk.
I think another thing that really upset me was Hollywood too. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. You speak. I speak too much.
Did you guys see? No, but did you guys see that letter, the open letter for Israel that just came out?
Oh my God!
2 days ago.
Who signed that letter? It was like
a lot
Amy Schumer and like they were talking about.
Oh my goodness!
It was Lana Del Rey.
Like Hamas, release the hostages. Is that what it was about? Like it's like this is the thing I don't get with these celebrities. Who was this? Michael Rappaport last week. There's a video that he replied to me with, saying the same thing. It's like Hamas, release the hostages. Is Hamas checking out, I don't know, Amy Schumer and Michael Rappaport? Like, why? What are these celebrities? What are they doing? This is all for their own image.
Who are they talking to?
That's the only reason any of them would have a letter like this. Like, it's so ridiculous.
I'm telling you, power, right?
Sorry, I cut in. Go.
No, go ahead, Ariana.
Really quick, I would just like to point out that Amy Schumer, Chuck Schumer, is her first cousin.
Yep.
I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah. So.
God, celebrities are so fucking stupid. I was laughing at that letter when I saw it. It's like, oh my God, why hasn't Biden released the hostages yet? Has he seen? Has Hamas seen that Amy Schumer said to release the hostages? I mean,
who else signed it? Because I don't just want to like single out Amy Schumer. It was like a bunch of these clowns.
Yeah.
Wait, let me pull it up. I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, it reminds me of the COVID song. Remember when they were singing?
Yes, that's what I thought about too. I thought about that too.
Like the public just needs to hear from us.
Oh, Jesus, that was crazy. Don't bring back my second embarrassment about that.
That honestly, that was like the first video that was a different type of cringe that made me want to jump out of my skin.
I couldn't finish it.
It was so bad.
I don't like the second hand. I was embarrassed for all of them. Like, take it down, delete it, remove it.
I saw like 3 seconds. Like, that's enough. I can't.
It was so patronizing.
I can't do embarrassing stuff. I have a hard time even watching
Neither.
like those hidden camera shows. I can't watch that. Like,
I
you
have
know,
that
when they catch
problem
someone
too,
doing
David.
something.
I really no. I'll be watching a movie, and if it's about to be cringy, I have to stop it and gather myself, and then
Yeah.
get back to it because it makes me crazy. It
Mentally
does.
prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Movies I can do, but like, real world like pranks or people like just really embarrassing themselves, I can't do it because like this person actually
No.
is really embarrassing. I
No, even
cannot
in
watch it.
movies, for me, I know the person is about to embarrass. I know this is fake, but I'm just like, I gotta stop this because that is embarrassing, and I'm just feeling it from my soul.
As long as
will
I tell
return to
myself, oh, they're
listening.
just acting. It's not really, it's not real.
It doesn't. That don't work for me.
You have to talk to yourself through
Yeah.
it.
Like a horror movie. It's like watching a horror movie. It's like, this is not
David's
real.
like, I
This
need
is
to
not real.
comfort myself through this cringe.
I can't do cringe. It's too.
I do that to I'll convince myself of things. Like there's this guy on TikTok that is in my algorithm because I've watched enough for it to start recommending. But he will film himself going up to old dudes and he's just like, hey, and I'll try to scan them at the store. How much are you? I want to take you home with me, and I'll just hit on them. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, okay. And I'm telling myself, this is a straight dude who's just memeing.
Oh, he's
because
straight.
well, no, that's what I'm telling myself because I
Oh.
know a gay guy would never have so little self-awareness that he does this. It's so cringeworthy. Like he tries to make it wholesome, like, hey, you're really handsome, like just hits on old dudes, but it's so cringeworthy. I'm like, oh my god, I swear to God, I'm gonna kill myself in Minecraft. If,
No,
if
I'm
he
not
keeps
gonna
talking.
lie. I was recording because somebody wanted me to record like a get ready with me or like how your day was type of thing. I'm like, let me try to do one of them things. Child, I put my camera up by the bed and I try to jump out the bed. I was embarrassed for myself. I was embarrassed for myself. I said, girl, and I just didn't do it. I just was like, I can't. Because just you setting the camera up, and then you have to run back in bed and just act like you're waking up. It's just like, why am I doing it?
Yeah,
It
it's
great
so
on the people who
embarrassing.
do it online, but I'm embarrassed. I get so embarrassed about
Yeah.
it.
Here is the here's the letter.
No hostage left behind.
No hostage. There's a lot more names than I realized there
you
was.
gotta scroll up to that. They said release the hostage, and they just named a bunch of countries. Also, we are.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. The letter itself is ridiculous.
Whether
You
they're
guys-
American,
Yeah, it's
we
insane.
represent everybody here.
Wait
They're
a minute. This is
yeah.
level 99. Both sidesism.
And let's
all
be,
the
but be clear.
hostages.
Yes, of course we want to. Yes, of course we want all the hostages released.
Stay for
It's
training.
the fact that celebrities are like writing this as if it fucking matters that we have John Hamm.
Thanks, Orlando
Who
Bloom.
else?
You did it. Problem solved.
Patty
Lana Del Rey
Jenkins.
is on that list too.
Yeah, Lana Del Rey's on that. I'm disappointed.
Whoever's on this list, we need to like blacklist them and
Will
cancel
Ferrell.
them.
I mean,
Oh, he was
it's
in
a pretty
Magic
safe
Mike.
thing to sign, right?
Let me minimize it. Who was black on this list? Because
There's some. There's some.
I need to know.
I can't. I just can't. I love how I'm trying to think of the
Chris Rock.
logic where it's like, well,
Baby,
what if
Chris
people
Rock
start
is
to
on the
think
list, honey?
that we don't care about all the other hostages in the countries right now? We should just put all the countries where there's hostages possibly.
Larry David's daughter, for some reason, is on here. Why?
Oh my god. Jason
Jerry
Sudeikis.
Seinfeld is on
Jerry
there
Seinfeld.
too.
I'm not shocked.
I honestly hate Jerry Seinfeld. I just have to throw that in.
I didn't ever think he was funny. Like
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
the
like
Seinfeld is a hilariously written show. I'm not. He's
Hold on,
not really the reason.
Katy Perry's on the list, guys. That
She
changes
raged.
the game, doesn't it? Katy Perry's right there on the list.
so is Madonna. Madonna's on that list too.
Is she really?
Nice.
Gwyneth Paltrow, of course.
Hmm.
So I
Okay, this is-
I got Chris
I don't know.
Rock to talk about this.
Wait, who's this letter to again? Who is it? Who do they?
This is to Biden, urging him to release the hostages.
Also,
Yeah,
it says
See,
this
nothing
is-
about
this-
what Palestine is going through. Just to be clear, it literally
Yeah.
just says we need you to get our hostages back. That's it.
This dovetails to something else that came up earlier when I was on the majority board today, and that's like you see all these people saying like, oh, why aren't these pro-Palestinian protests? Why isn't anyone doing anything about the hostages, or why aren't there any protests to condemn Hamas? And I pointed out that what do they expect? And this is the perfect example of how pointless this sort of thing is. What do you expect activists in the US to do to force any hand, to have any power at all in this situation? They don't. The power they have is to pressure their government to not support the bombings in Gaza. We have no protester has any power. They're gonna march in the streets protesting for the hostages be released, and Hamas is gonna see the videos of the protests and go, "Oh, Americans want us to. Oh, why didn't we do this?"
Amy Schumer. Oh, gotta do it now.
you know what they are doing in Israel though, because they have the power to do this. The families of the hostages are protesting the Israeli government for not focusing on getting the hostages released, because the Israeli government in this scenario, to the people in Israel, the Israeli citizens, they're the ones who have the power to get the hostages released. Because if they actually care, if the number one focus right now was to release those hostages, and that's my focus, I want every single one of those hostages taken by Hamas to be released alive and well, and to be released to their families. If that was the focus, though, they wouldn't be bombing the very places where these hostages currently are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, these celebrities, their letter is fucking pointless. It does absolutely nothing. They should be calling out the Israeli government for not focusing on getting the hostages released. But they wouldn't do that. Because that's uncouth. You can't.
Can you pull up the letter again? I just gotta go to the
that.
third paragraph, because you think that this is ineffective, Matt. So if you go up, I mean, this is very strong stuff here. Okay, so it says the one down from that. So we all want the same thing: freedom for Israelis and Palestinians to live side by side in peace, freedom from the brutal violence spread by Hamas, and most urgently in this moment, freedom for the hostages. That moment right there stood out to me. To live side by side in peace. Like, it reminds you of like when you're like in 5th grade and you're doing, a talent show or some shit, and they're like, what is your aspiration? I want to bring world peace. Like, it's so naive and like juvenile.
So what are they saying here? No, like,
also look at the paragraph before that. Thank you for your unshakable moral conviction, leadership, and support for the Jewish people. This is the Biden, who have been terrorized by Hamas since the group's founding over 35 years ago, and for the Palestinians, who've also been terrorized, oppressed, and victimized by who? By Hamas for the last 17 years that the group is in governing Gaza. By just Hamas?
Oh my!
Half the population wasn't alive.
No calling out of what the IDF has been doing to Israel. No calling out for the continuing extension of the settlements that force Palestinian families out of their homes. No mention.
Which also includes the West Bank, by the way.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's been more deaths in the West Bank in the past 2 weeks than there's been in like a decade or something like that.
Yes.
There's no Hamas there's no Hamas fighters in the West Bank. This is settlers using what happened as a tool, as an excuse to attack innocent people in the West Bank and steal their homes. There was a story I was just reading about a father and a son who were going to a funeral in the West Bank I think like a week ago, and settlers shot them dead. And the family came out and said in a news interview with, I think it was The Independent in the UK, that they were worried about those two members of the family because they were specifically targeted because those settlers had a problem with them because the father, the 60-year-old Palestinian man who they targeted and killed, he had previously had clashed with them because they were trying to steal his land.
Unreal.
Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, you gotta be kidding me that we have like this bullshit from like, that's the thing. Like, they want protesters to march in the streets protesting Hamas for what? This virtue signaling, what is that gonna do? Nothing. What does that mean? Nothing. The only thing people in the US have the power to do is pressure their government to not allow Israel to bombard Gaza with bombs. They have no power other than that. And that's what these protesters are using. That's all they got. What
do these celebrities think? Like, because somebody in the chat is giving me some of these black names like Jordan Peele, Octavia Spencer, Tyler Perry.
No, not Jordan Peele.
That's what they said. Now I cannot verify because I did not go
The
through.
way you
Jordan
said
Peele's
that,
on
Mike,
it.
was,
Jordan Peele's on it.
was hilarious.
Now, well, what I'm saying
No!
He's expressing what I just felt in my heart, though. I love Jordan Peele.
what I think that is done though, it's almost like these
It's
celebrities.
virtue
like,
signaling. It's
Yeah.
like it's
like when
they
Diddy-
they feel like they can't do anything, and they're one of their friends, celebrity friends, like, hey, you should sign this, and they like, oh, that's a kind message. Sure, I'll sign this.
Yeah.
That's the extent of
But
the thinking.
it's not gonna do
An office
anything.
birthday card.
I know
Yeah,
that with a
basically,
lot of
yes.
these people who were running for politics maybe years ago. I remember like we saw a lot of these celebrities like campaigning with them and sponsoring them, all these kind of things, and nothing happened for them. I remember overnight, I forgot who it was. Was it his name was Beto, whatever, out of Texas, and Beyonce done put on the hat for him, and he still didn't win. These are things that people need to understand. Diddy was saying, I didn't like how Diddy was doing this. He was saying to hold your vote, or this kind of like he just like, please don't. We don't like I don't. First you told us vote or die, then you spin the block and told us to
I
hold the
remember
vote.
vote or die.
What are we doing? I don't know what we're doing. It's
So funny that you brought up Vote or Die because like I was very young at that time, and I think this was after season 2 of Making the Band, and I was mad that he didn't let them have a second album, the band, the second group. So I'm like, fuck Diddy. That was my logic.
That's what made you say fuck Diddy, not any of the other stuff.
At the time, I was like 17, but I remember that in 2004. It could be a different Making the Band, but I remember like explicitly like I'm not gonna listen to what he says. I couldn't vote, but I was too young.
You talking about the band or Day 26?
The band. I love Day 26, but the band was season 2. Yeah. And they didn't have a second season. Choppa had some, appearances here and there on the Hustle and Flow soundtrack, but you know what I mean. Anyways, yeah, that's why young me was very much against Diddy right there. But yeah.
Pull this tweet up as as Rebecca was pointing out the
such a millennial boomer.
Pull this tweet up. I put it in the private chat as Rebecca was pointing out which black celebrities were on that list. I'm seeing a lot of this actually, and it is from white people.
And
this is so astounding to me. So astounding. And they don't even realize how fucking racist they're being.
Wait,
this is
I'm
a very
serious.
very large figure in the anti-Trump resistance world. Bradley Moss. It's this. He posts a video of a pro-Palestine.
Can you click on his
rally.
profile picture real quick?
Mike, stop.
Oh no! Oh!
Go to this. Go back to this tweet though, so I can read
NBC.
this.
Mike, you are foul.
It's disheartening. It's
I was on
disheartening
NBC
to
though.
see. It's disheartening to see so many African Americans in this crowd. When you research the history of the civil rights movement, you find Jewish activists and lawyers standing with those who fought segregation and Jim Crow laws. How fucking racist is this garbage?
Unbelievable.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize there were strings attached to your report for your support for basic civil rights. I didn't realize that you were doing this in return for something in the future. I didn't realize there were strings attached here. Unbelievable.
Yeah, black people have to stick to, because you guys, we stood with people for. Listen, we're still gonna be standing on the rights because we understand what's happening in Palestine. You know what it's like to be singled out and to try to be put somewhere and to be treated like something because of what you look like, believe, or whatever the case may be. And so, no, like people will, you see how they try to do that? We got to be tied to somebody because what you did for us. If what you did for us was good, why you got to throw it back in our face? Like, what are we doing here? If you know about what Jim Crow was, why are you not standing with Palestine yourself?
It's like, oh, if we give black people civil rights, then they'll owe us a favor later. Who we're gonna cash in on? Like, what the fuck? And the reason why I wanted to zoom in on this picture was not to point out that it was a dweeb, but I just scrolled, I saw that, and I just assumed it was a black person that put that because a white liberal, like, motherfucker, you have the audacity, goddamn! Oh my god,
he got torn apart in the comments too, which is good to see. Like a lot of the replies are like, you idiot.
Yeah, but he's already playing the victim though, tweeting, "Oh man, my block button certainly getting a workout tonight."
Oh my god.
They refuse to admit this really is the issue that there's a whole term for it, progressive except Palestine. This is the issue that people they do not care about Palestinian people. They don't view them as human beings. It is that simple. I've never seen anything like this. It is beyond anything else I've seen. It is so disgusting. It makes me so angry. It makes me like I don't have words. Like I get so upset over this.
It just
that
you know, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Matt. I know you're so mad, and I feel it. I feel it in your soul. I can feel the tension. And when you say you've never seen anything like this, for me, I'm like, dang, it pisses me off because we're still like another country is dealing with this with the country that they ousted, people that they ousted because of what they look like. And to know, for me, when I see this, that's why I get so hyped. I get so upset because I know how America treated Black people here, like we were inhumane. We're not people. Till this day, remnants of that still is in everything American. So to see Israel and to act like they're the ones that are the victims here, right? And they are provided everything they need to literally clear out these people for no reason. There's no real reason. There's nothing bad about these people. There's a group of people within the people who have done something bad. It is not the people themselves, just like anywhere else. And here they are trying to make excuses and trying to make us believe something that isn't there. But we know how Americans move, of course. Of course, they're going to stick right beside Israel. They've done exactly the same thing themselves here. So.
Not that this is related, but did you guys see Mayor Eric Adams comparing Emmett Till's death to what's going on in Israel?
No.
I saw that. I didn't see his whole
Wait, what?
His whole explanation. But
oh my God,
I did hear about this.
Okay, let me find it. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh my God.
This is why, like, I'm having a hard time getting out of my own head and thinking that, oh, they're just ignorant of what's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I guess there are people that really just don't give a fuck about Palestinians, and like they really do not care. And I have a very hard time even grasping, like even understanding that, because to me it doesn't like once you learn about the situation, how do you not put yourself in the shoes of someone living in Gaza and being occupied for that long, and the blockade and the lack of food, water, medicine, how do you not empathize?
Could you imagine if Joe
it's
Biden?
Impossible for me to even grasp.
Could you imagine if Joe Biden spoke about Ukrainian victims of Russian aggression in the way he's like talking about Palestinians, like being like, oh, a handful of those numbers have made up. It's like, oh, another school just got bombed, another hospital just got bombed. It's terrible. So many like Ukrainians have died, and it is absolutely terrible. But then to be like, those numbers, I don't know if they check out yet. You know, we'll have to wait to get official. Like people would be beside themselves. You know,
that was the worst thing I could have heard. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about.
I got something. I got something on that actually. I don't want to. I didn't share this because the account that shared these two videos who shared these two videos to point out the hypocrisy would undermine the point. So I didn't share the account. But I did want to download these videos. So I'm going to download them now, and I'm going to send them on here so we could play them. To show there's two videos that were posted that shows the absolute hypocrisy between what the U.S. government stance is on what's happening to the Palestinians and then what's happening in Ukraine. Let me download these videos and then I'll send it over.
I do have the video now from Ariana. You shared the Eric Adams video.
Yeah, I did.
Really
quick, I just want to say like the difference is so freaking disgusting because it's like we opened up a pathway of citizenship for Ukrainians to come in, no questions asked, just like straight pathway, come through, come here, we're going to give you a citizenship, we're going to give you, all this access, which is great. Like they're victims of a war, you know what I mean? But like when you look at the disparity and just like the difference, it's so nauseating, honestly. Anyway,
people are trying to justify. They're saying things like, "Oh, well, they should just go somewhere else. Why aren't they going to like Lebanon or Egypt or something like that? Or why don't they just go into like, it's like, right?"
I wonder what the difference is between
so
refugees
why should
from
they
Ukraine
have to
and
go?
Palestine.
Yeah,
why should they have to go?
Yeah.
What American What Americans would say? We have Americans who won't even fucking wear a mask when there was a pandemic, and we're expecting a whole nother people to get up and leave their homes.
Millions.
Why should they have to go? They should.
Half
not
of whom
have
are
to go.
children. Half of whom are kids.
Right.
Like, what, are the kids going to build boats and then go over the Rafah and get to Egypt because there's safe travel there? Like, what the fuck are you all talking about?
Also, I just want to point out one thing. When we helped destabilize Syria, we were the country, America, that took the least amount of refugees. When we left Afghanistan, we were the country that took the least amount of Afghan refugees. And when they did come here, we treated them like crap. Like, not us as a people, but just like, well, maybe that too. But like, as a government, we treated them like crap. Do you want to know the top country that took some of the most Afghan refugees? It was actually Iran. I don't like the Iranian government, don't get me wrong, but it was Iran. America, same with Yemen, same with Libya. We have this tendency of destabilizing, Middle Eastern countries, and then we take the least amount of them in as refugees, and we have the capability to, because we did it with Ukraine. We just don't want to. And then we have people, because I saw that chat too, we have people who are just brazenly saying, oh, well, why don't they just go to Lebanon? Why don't they just go to Jordan? There's so many Palestinian diasporas from the first Nakba that had to go to Jordan because they didn't have any choice. There's so many Palestinian diaspora in Lebanon. The biggest Palestinian diaspora outside of the Middle East is actually Chile. There's so many Palestinian diaspora in South America because they were forced to leave. So like this whole like ideology of like, oh, why don't they just go into another country? First of all, they are, but second of all, why should they? Matt, to your point, why should they? They shouldn't have to.
That's why.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to. Yeah.
Just move.
All right, I uploaded the videos. Can you play them? They're in the brand section. Play the first one. This is 2 videos. Both of them are featuring the White House spokesman John Kirby. The first video you'll see is his response to what's happening in Gaza. The second video you'll see was his response to what's happening in Ukraine. Play the first one.
By the way, when I play this, I think it'll play without us, just so you know, it'll play full screen, I believe.
This is war. It is combat.
Where'd you all go?
It is bloody. It is ugly, and it's going to be messy. And innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen, and that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it dismissible. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to still express concerns about that and do everything we can to help the Israelis do everything they can to minimize it. But that's unfortunately the nature of conflict.
Now watch his same response. What his response is to someone asking about what was happening in Ukraine back when that first started.
It's hard to look at what he's doing in Ukraine, what his forces are doing in Ukraine, and think that any ethical, moral individual could justify that. It's difficult to look at the It's difficult to look at some of the images and imagine that any well-thinking, serious, mature leader would do that. So I can't talk to his psychology, but I think we can all speak to his depravity.
Wow. The emotion for seeing people in Ukraine, white people.
Matt, can you send that to me, please?
I mean, it is unnerving how blasé he was when asked about the Palestinian people's lives. And then how emotional he got. And I want to make it clear, I think the people in Ukraine and the people in Gaza and the West Bank are being victimized by an oppressor. This is not an attack on Ukrainian people. This is an attack on the U.S. government's position on one thing that flies in the face of their position on another.
Yep.
What Putin is doing in Ukraine, I saw the images. So disgusting. I've seen images of kids without faces come across my feed in Gaza.
That press conference after the hospital, I was like, I had to turn off the internet after that. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to be able to unsee that uncensored
so
footage of
bad.
them
Oh
just
my God,
literally
so
in a
bad.
pile of bodies of kids. I was like, even in horror movies, I don't see this shit, you know, and this is real fucking life. And
There's a video
yeah.
that stood out to me of this little girl. She was like 9, and I forgot what the caption was, but she was hugging her little siblings and grappling with the reality that she was their de facto mom now because both of their parents were killed. She was like 9, so she's trying to hold her little siblings.
Yeah,
And it's just
the video I saw was a little girl too. She was running back in and she said, "That's my mom. I can tell by her hair." And she was sitting down trying to like really like wrap her mind about what her life was going to look like from that moment on. Like, that's my mom. I know her by her hair. Like, I know that's my mom. That was like, I can't, those kind of things, I'm not good with it. So when I see videos and stuff, I rather like read what it's about or read the
Same here.
article.
Yeah, I can't watch them.
I can't watch. I really can't.
I know the brutality. I don't need to, you
Yeah.
know, have it haunt me in my dreams. Like it's just
Yeah.
Too late. It's just But see, these things affect us because we're normal human beings, and we also we think that Palestinians are human beings. We see humanity and suffering, but these folks, like, they see Palestinians, and they don't feel like they're watching human beings. Like, they've already dehumanized them, and once you've dehumanized someone psychologically, that damage that's done to them, the tears, it just doesn't click with you because you've rejected their humanity. Which is why we see this difference, you know, which is why we'll accept Ukrainian refugees but not Palestinian refugees, because those are not the same. They're just, one is human and the other is less human, if even human. You know, they've been described by Israeli officials as human animals, so it's like some sort of a subspecies. Like the thorough dehumanization and the way that this is reinforced in propaganda, both explicitly and implicitly, like this is why things are the way that they are. You know,
It's racist to me. Like,
exactly.
you know, and this is what I made this point when the Haitian president was assassinated, and a lot of the Haitians were trying to come here. Same time, Ukrainians were offered all the help and to come in. Haitians were getting kicked they asses right back.
Whipped. They were getting whipped.
Yeah, they were getting whipped on
They were getting
horses,
whipped at
right?
the border. My own cousin at the border getting whipped. I'm trying to go and figure out how I'm gonna go pick him up. Next day he was gone. Meanwhile, Ukrainians and all them, they were told because their country was not livable, they're in war. Same thing was happening in Haiti, but they were given an opportunity and them Haitians were sent right back.
Yeah.
So
and that was so messed up too, because they were able to send Haitians back without any kind of trial because of Trump's COVID era immigration. I forgot there was a name for it, but
the Title 42.
Something 42.
Yeah, it was
Title 42.
Yeah, it was Title 42
Yeah.
that he campaigned on letting go of. But not only did he not let go of it, he kept implementing Title 42, and Haitians was actually one of the groups where he, used Title 42. And I do want to kind of bring this back really quick to, George Bush, the war on terror, 9/11. We talk about the 9/11 hijackers. None of them were Iraqi. None of them were Afghan. I can't believe that some Americans still don't know this. Like, legitimately, some Americans don't know
Saudi
this.
Arabia.
The FBI did a full-on report. They investigated the 9/11 attack, and in the report that they published, they actually heavily implicated Saudi Arabia in those attacks. They directly heavily implicated Saudi Arabia. And so not only are we still buddy with Saudi Arabia to some extent, we invaded Iraq, we invaded Afghanistan. For what? And the way we were able to justify that was through dehumanization. We had Caroline Maloney, I believe is her last name. She went up in front of Congress with a burqa on, a white woman that has no history of being Muslim, having any kind of Muslim family in her heritage or whatever. She went in front of Congress for 20 minutes in a burqa, and she said, we are invading Afghanistan to help liberate the women of Afghanistan. No Middle Eastern woman has ever asked any American to liberate them, but we'll pass by that topic. But the whole entire thing, like the whole invasion, was so entirely racist. It was dehumanizing. 20 years later, not only are the women of Afghanistan not freaking liberated in any shape or form. We used that as a scapegoat. We used the dehumanization of, and I'm not saying Afghanistan was perfect by any means or by any shape. Like, you know, obviously Afghanistan had gone through a civil war. There were a lot of things going on at the time, but
Also,
you know,
a lot of empires trying to colonize it over and over and over again.
Right. But there were a lot of things going on, and I'm by no means am I saying it was perfect, but they have been dehumanizing Middle Eastern. Yes, thank you.
That is
They have been
wild.
Dehumanizing us for so freaking long, and that's why we now have to see literal like images of children and their heads blown off for us to have any kind of sympathy as a society. When with Ukrainians, you just say, hey, Ukrainians are suffering, and everyone's like, okay, I'm game. Whatever they need, I'm there. But with us, you literally have to we have to convince people, hey, listen, we're getting massacred, we're getting genocided, for people to kind of be like, okay, I kind of see your point. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm done. Sorry.
Well, it's like it's just
it's sort
the
of
media. Sorry, go
it's
ahead, Matt.
It's the whole thing too with how many people who believe that there should be a Jew like there must they have Israel's right to exist. There must be a Jewish state, Zionism. How many of those same people think there should be no countries that's run under Muslim rule, Sharia law, or anything like that? They're both theocracies. That's the whole. There shouldn't be. That's anti-democratic. There shouldn't be any state that's ruled by rule of religion. Any religion. There shouldn't be a state where the Bible is law, where any religion is the law like that. But the Muslim states, those are bad. Muslim law, that's bad stuff.
Except for Saudi Arabia.
Exactly. It's
Saudi Arabia is
Saudi Arabia
okay.
based
Important partner.
and
Yes.
give them
yes.
weapons.
Yes.
Yeah.
It depends on how close they are to US.
Well, that's just the government.
US.
That's the U.S. government. I would
Yeah.
I would say most people in the U.S. would be very happy to see no more Saudi Arabia not due to good reasons, due to Muslim country.
Well, going back to Ariana's point about the dehumanization, I wanted to bring up the point about the media and how, like, when you see the lack of reaction to the Al Jazeera journalist who lost his entire family, you would think that more of them would be talking about this, just because that's something where they can genuinely like empathize with him with, because, you know, it's like, oh, I'm a journalist. Like, imagine if my entire family was wiped out, and likely due to retaliation from this government that I'm reporting on. You know, no evidence of that. I'm just speculating, but it seems pretty suspicious if you ask me. I think there should be a proper investigation done by an independent third party, but you would think that there would be like some way to connect, right? Like there it is. Imagine like retaliation against journalism. We've got to protect the fourth estate. You know, journalism is necessary for democracy. It's necessary for the public, but you just don't really see anything. You know, you don't see CNN pundits crying for this man's family. Like, the videos are heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh.
You could see the video of him finding out in real time.
In real
He
time.
lost all of his, like, I couldn't even imagine.
And they went
losing all your
there
family.
to get away, and you know, like a safe area.
Right.
Yeah, they said it was a
And-
safe area.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because what people don't realize is that the IDF gave that order 2 weeks ago, actually, because we were on the show when we found out, to evacuate the north. They actually went and they evacuated. They were in central Gaza in a Nusrat camp, where they were told they could take refuge, and they were murdered in an airstrike. So I mean, it's if you're one of these people who thinks that the numbers are exaggerated, if you're Joe Biden, wouldn't you look at that and think, the optics just don't look good, because they're being bombed where they were told to evacuate? Like, why are there so many airstrikes in the south when Israel told them to get out of the north? Like, it's just shocking to me that, like, this is happening, and our leaders are just like, how dare you criticize Israel? That's anti-Semitic. Like, it's shocking to me. I mean, it's not shocking, but it's just like, it feels like you're in like this diluted reality, like the Twilight Zone or something, where how could you fucking say this?
Yeah, it's when I seen what Joe Biden said, I was blown. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, he been rocking with Israel, okay, but for him to say like, okay, now the numbers in Gaza, we don't really know. Like, I mean, but you like, I need you to really say that you know that people are being murdered in Gaza. He keeps saying Hamas. He keeps saying that, but Palestinian people are dying. Palestinian children are dying. Like, why aren't you saying that? Y'all, yeah, look, I'm at the end. I can go forever, but I got work in the morning. Okay,
Oh,
I
yeah, it's
gotta go.
10:43 now.
I gotta go. I
Oh my
didn't want to
God,
end it
yeah.
like that, but y'all know I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time, good conversation. Like I was talking. Quick story before I get out of here. So everybody who's watching, this is funny. I dropped some love in our little chat, right? I'm talking about our leftist mafia chat to everybody. And I
Oh,
started off
yeah.
with like, hey guys, I just wanted to tell you that I absolutely love being, a part of the show, and I love being a part of the hard conversations, but the necessary conversations, and that we actually get moments to laugh together, something of the sort. And all of these fools, because they don't know how to accept love, and they have trauma from past people who've been on the show.
Hey, don't involve me in this. It was one person, and then I think someone else had
oh,
enough.
we thought she was quitting. Like, can you read on? They were not going to accept the love. Like, listen, guys,
No, we weren't going to accept the quit. That's
It
what
was Matt Bender's not used to getting love, so he was shocked that there has to be some other reason for this.
What is his feeling?
The same thing, because at first you just see, hey guys, I've been really enjoying it, and just right there I stopped like, oh no.
It's been a long week, and I know it's been so crazy. So I just wanted to just drop some love right up in there for y'all. That's all I was trying to do. So, and it's gonna come. That's how I am. So you guys have to accept the love, right? Let me love you. I know it's hard because of past trauma, but let me love you. Okay.
I think it's a song.
Rebecca is discovering how black-pilled we all are.
Yes.
Humored.
I'm like, oh my God, they are hurt. They are hurt. Oh my goodness. But,
It's traumatic being a leftist.
I know it can be. I know that. So that's why I was like, let me just sprinkle some love in here. And they were like, what the hell is this? Oh my God. They were looking for the negative. I'm like, oh, poor babies. But yeah, I love being here with you guys, and I will be here with you guys next Thursday. Nice to meet you, Ariana. You were great.
So
hope
nice to meet
you come back again. I absolutely love your energy on here.
Thank
But y'all know
you.
I gotta go. Love you.
You take care.
Good
Bye, guys.
So we'll go to super chats. Ariana, we'll tell you what we tell all of our guests, that you are free to stay as long as you like. Sometimes these go long, but no pressure. But
yeah,
I bow out quickly. Yeah, just fair.
So do I. In fact, I might bow out pretty quick. I may just go through mine really quick if y'all don't mind. I don't have that many, so it could be. And the last 4 are from some lunatics, so I may not even read them.
Yeah, at least you got paid, David. At least you got paid.
I know.
Wait, the first 4 or the last 4?
I kind of want to hear them.
Yeah, the last 4.
Oh, I have some as well. I don't care if you're sending me money. If you're saying stupid shit, I'm going to
The
ban
last
you.
4 for me is from the same person. Here, let me jump through these quick. Mike Thompson, excited about the show. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Snack Panther. Bitter didn't want that Pakman smoke.
No, I
don't know. He started the show with it.
I just didn't want to start any drama. I'm not.
He'll get Howard Stern and Rosie O'Donnell on your ass, so you better watch out.
I mean, you know, when you were talking earlier about his takes and like, you know, I think it's concerning that his takes on this issue are obviously being consumed by people like Howard Stern and who else did you say? Did you say Rosie O'Donnell?
I didn't get the reference.
He interviewed Rosie O'Donnell on his show.
She does follow me, so maybe I can.
She follows you, really?
She does, yeah.
Maybe she's learning something. Actually, what's her position on this?
Yeah, I remember her
curious.
from the Flintstones when I was a kid.
Matters,
so I should reach out and be like, hey, I remember you in the Flintstones as a kid.
I watched her talk show in the 90s. I liked her talk show.
Well, Donald Trump absolutely hated her. So that's
he did.
That's also why I sided with her during that whole thing. Mike Thompson, do you guys think there's going to be a big turnaround on public opinion? I know it started, but it still seems split.
You're seeing it
I
now.
think like any issue when it comes to like when there's facts and the facts are the facts, it may take a while, but they do turn around. And I think you're already seeing a bit of that in some of the polling.
Absolutely.
For the first time ever, at least in my lifetime that I can remember, it feels like there's a real shift happening, which is encouraging. Like, as you can see, if you've listened these past 2 hours, we're still losing our minds, but there's been a shift.
Yeah.
Especially in the younger generation. I think they really need a shout out.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kowalski here with a 199 super chat. Thank you. Says, ask Matt to look at his XDM. Topical.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Kowalski, by the way.
Should I read this DM publicly, Kowalski?
I guess.
Damn.
Oh, for you're asking him?
Share with the
I don't know.
class.
Yeah, I'll read it right now. Pakman, oh boy, in his defense of Israel video, mentioned a bunch of goods that Israel produces, which would be a mistake to boycott. Oh my God. He mentioned cheese from Israel is sold at Trader Joe's. Agriculture products from Israel are not only ecologically unsustainable since they are growing crops in a desert. They have destroyed Palestinian farmers and village wells to feed the Israeli agricultural exports. So the cheese Pakman likes literally is at the expense of innocent people who have been displaced within the last few weeks, let alone the past 50 years. They didn't think he could have a take worse than his NFT selling grift, says Kowalski.
Maybe you shouldn't have read that on there.
I have to see this video. Hold on. His defense of Israel is that a bunch of goods that Israel produces is good.
I know you
So
want
it
to
would be a
boycott them,
mistake
but have
to
you tried their
boycott?
cheese?
Keep in mind we have not watched the video, so
Right.
we cannot make any assumptions. But
Listen, Kowalski is a very straight up. With that being said, I agree with what David said, so I'm not going to say much more about it because I want to watch it first. But I also want to say Kowalski's not one to embellish. He's a very straightforward. He's a straight
true.
shooter. He's
he's a down to earth guy, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a farmer, right?
Oh my God.
Gotta
I
try
don't
this
think I
cheese.
can watch anything
the whole
like that right now.
the whole point of a boycott
I
is
can't
that,
take anymore.
is that you stop consuming things that might be hard to stop because you enjoy it. That's not the reason.
Yeah, you're not supposed to really enjoy not getting certain things that you may want. I don't know.
I literally did a TikTok video about this today that got over 200K views, but
Damn.
so there's a huge, thank you, Mike. My literal idol saying, wow, so cool.
Oh.
So there's a huge push for people. Obviously, there's a lot of brands that have investments in, different companies in America, but there's a huge push for McDonald's, Disney, and Starbucks. And so all three of these companies are now doing deals. So McDonald's is giving free fries on Fridays. Starbucks is going to do a BOGO deal where you get one drink, you get another one for free. And then Disney is now giving cards for free, like 100 cards for free, which I think comes with their membership or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know. I'm not a Disney adult, but it shows two things, right? It shows that boycotts, number one, they work because obviously we're putting pressure on these companies and they feel like they need to do something PR wise to make up for it. But number two, they just you're genuinely taking a stance. I know not getting your pumpkin spice is hard, but you're gonna have to take one for the team here. You know what I mean? And I just want to really reemphasize that those boycotts are very important, and participating in them does actually do change.
Yeah.
Virginia Voss, thank you for the super chat. Says Anna Kasparian. We have to do more controversy. Anna Kasparian went on right-wing talk radio show PBD and challenged J.K. Rowling. Really LOL awful. All right. Haven't seen it. I don't want to get into more drama. I feel like it's more important shit right now than getting
Yeah,
into
I've
some
said everything on my
YouTube
heart about that
drama.
situation.
Yeah. Sorry guys for taking up all the chats. I got a random splitting headache, so I want to get
No, you're good.
out of here. I think this is for me. Yes. Cosmere Dragon, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, love seeing a new guest. Ariana will have to follow. I appreciate her perspective. Also, this is a reminder to bring on Crystal and Kyle someday soon. Yes, we will have to invite them, Mike. You or me.
I said 3 weeks ago I was going to invite them, and I thought earlier this week I should probably invite them. But as you all know, we are very, very bad at organization and inviting guests. It's a miracle that Ariana is
I'd rather
here
you
today.
invite people. I don't invite. I feel like I'm always bothering people, so you can do the invite.
I will try to reach out to Kyle and see if we can get him or Crystal or both, ideally. But if it happens within the next week or so, that's a miracle. So I'm trying to remember.
Zatewise, thank you for the super chat. Would really enjoy to see Vosh on the panel for once and discuss different topics with you all. Any chance that will happen, or anyone hardly or anyone hardly against it? I don't. He's fine. I got no.
Yeah, I'm not against it. Vosh was actually a member on episodes, or a guest on episode 0. Fun fact.
That's right.
He was shit-faced. It was really funny.
I've never seen
He
him
was. Yeah, actually, he was drunk.
Yeah,
it was so drunk. It was really funny.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is my last one. How do you say this name? I don't want to screw it up. Vinci? Vincici?
I would probably say it.
Well, whatever.
But
I
I'm
apologize.
Sure, it's wrong.
Thoughts on Kenya's intervention in Haiti? So I read something about the UN approving this to try and deal with like gangs in Haiti. I don't know enough about. I mean, when I hear intervention in Haiti, usually it's not a good thing. Kenya specifically seems like an interesting choice to me. I don't know enough there to give you any real, educated perspective. Anyone else here know anything about this?
I'm clueless on this.
I just don't like the word intervention.
Yeah, it triggers me.
I
have a hard time thinking this is a good thing. Again, I don't know enough to really give a proper comment. Do you guys want to see the four crazy chats, or here we go? John, conservative values is a must. Okay, John.
John the Baptist.
As a black man, stop using race to make your points. All right, John. No 9-year-old little girl to see. No 9-year-old little girls see their parents die and think they are the parent now. Stop with the false narrative. Just make the point. All right, John.
But she's literally consoling her little brother and sister in that clip.
And please stop making everything racist. All right, John.
John,
all right,
go get baptized again.
All right, sorry guys, I gotta go early. Nice meeting you.
It was so nice meeting you too. Thanks for having me.
Of course. See you guys later.
Take care.
Hi, David. I'm gonna take off too as well. Enjoy the rest of the super chats. Thanks for coming on, Ariana. You were awesome.
Guys.
Please come back soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Lance. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Hopefully.
And goodbye to all of you. I'm gonna end the stream, but if you're watching on the Surfs.tv, I will keep streaming, or I'll host on the Humanist Report stream. All right. So if you're on the Surfs.tv, you don't gotta go anywhere. Otherwise, if you're watching it on YouTube, thank you so much. We had 391 views, which may mean that translates to new watch hours or something. I don't know. YouTube, help me out. Anyways, I love you all. You're valid. I'll see you soon.